Uh, let's get started here. Guess what, y'all? We get to chill out slightly. Isn't that fun? We have been like running full tilt in this course for the past few weeks. And now we get to just like jog, I feel like. So that's nice. We got HTML this week. Now we're not going to actually chill, right? So we're going to do some code wars. Typically how it goes for week 7, 8, and 9 is that we talk HTML, or then we're going to talk CSS and Bootstrap. And then in the time at the end, we do code wars and things and dig into stuff from the past 6 weeks that your brain didn't fully absorb, right? Because we threw all that at you and you've been kind of playing with it and stuff like that. Some of you might still be finishing up your assignment from last week because that can be a really tough one. So we'll talk HTML, but then in the rest of the time, HTML usually takes like half an hour because like, it's just HTML. And then in the rest of the time, we can review stuff, no question too dumb, dig it up. Like, let's get back to anything from the past 6 weeks that you're like, I know we talked about that, but is gone. I don't understand it. I just never quite got it or whatever. We'll dig back in. We can also do some code wars together. Have we talked about code wars in this class? Like a tiny bit, yeah. So I'll talk about it more and highly recommend code wars to build up your skills. Yeah, and we'll just have ourselves a great time for the next few weeks. Won't that be nice? Hopefully, kind of. HTML is pretty great. It's pretty chill. Obviously it is learning a new thing, so it's not nothing, right? We don't let you full on rest, but HTML is pretty chill. CSS isn't too bad either. CSS is easy to learn a little bit of and very hard to master. But the goal is not for you to master it in this course, just to give you a taste of it. So generally speaking, next week isn't too hard. But CSS itself can be very difficult to master. And blue, blue, blop, and then Bootstrap, which tends to take a bit longer just because there's more pieces going on there. But again, isn't crazy complex. It's just a CSS framework, just some pre-written CSS that we'll be using throughout the rest of this course. You'll get lots of practice with Bootstrap through the rest of this course. Come back to our beautiful tree. We've been just chilling right here in our tree, and we're gonna come back to, do you guys remember this from week 1? So beautiful. We got CSS and HTML, so we're gonna fill those out. You've been, you've been making HTML files, right? But you just haven't really understood what you were throwing in there, haven't really like put actual content in there. So we'll talk about how to put actual content in there, how to make it look nice, not how to make good choices about how things look nice, but how to make it look like something that looks nice. So if you got a mock-up or like a screenshot or something from Photoshop or whatever, you could use CSS to make it look like that. That is the sort of ultimate goal of CSS. I will not teach you design. I cannot teach you design because I don't have design skills. But we can talk about how to program in CSS to make something look nice, like the designers have chosen. Then we'll talk Bootstrap, which is generally speaking a CSS framework. Got a little JavaScript in there too, but talk that. Then once we sort of built out the chunk of this tree, we are going to talk about how to make JavaScript change the HTML and CSS. So no more alerts and prompts in week, what is it? 8, 9. In week 10, 11, and 12, we are going to talk about how to make our JavaScript change the actual HTML and potentially CSS directly. You can do that with just vanilla JavaScript. You can do that with jQuery, and we are going to talk about that in weeks 10, 11, and 12. But that is not how production level apps tend to be made these days. We don't tend to do it by hand like that, where we say we use JavaScript to like reach into the HTML and move stuff around. We're going to learn how to do that because it's very important to understand how to do that. And sometimes you need to do that. But generally speaking, these days, that's not the way apps are written. They are written in a more declarative way, which we'll talk about, in a much cooler way, basically, which is the React way, where we don't reach in there, move things ourselves. We instead tell React what to do, and React is our minion and runs around and does it. It's beautiful. Love React. But we're not there yet. That's what we'll spend 13 and weeks 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, whatever on. So that is our plan through the rest of this course. So these past 6 weeks were the weeks sort of on JavaScript. From here, we will just be building on top of JavaScript. So we're going to spend some time talking HTML, CSS, Bootstrap. Then we're going to say, okay, now let's use JavaScript to change the HTML, CSS, Bootstrap, whatever. And then we will talk React, which is a library written in JavaScript, but with a lot more going on in there. It's built on top of JavaScript. So we'll still be writing JavaScript all through this course, but it'll be JavaScript doing more complex things, not just little loops and stuff, not just little functions. We'll be making functions that hook up to other things and all that stuff. So yeah, get a little crazy. So one of the best things you can do in these next 3 weeks, this week, next week, and the Bootstrap week, is continue to practice your JavaScript, because getting your JavaScript stronger, getting more comfortable with callback functions and arrays of objects, and writing functions with parameters that return things, getting more comfortable with that stuff, and array methods. Those are probably some of the biggest ones I would point out. Getting more comfortable with that will really help when we hit React. And if you were very shaky on those things, you won't be able to put React on top of them, right? Foundation will collapse. So we've got 3 weeks. Let's strengthen those up. You don't have to be like an expert, but let's just try to strengthen those up a little, add a few more layers of understanding on those so that we can be ready to start building things on top of it. Sound good? Any questions? Okay. Well, that is our, that's our plan. Oh, yes, Heather.
So for this last assignment, I keep getting like errors and stuff when I'm trying to run.
Baby.
Well, I know when I'm like trying to run it, and I haven't handed it in, and I'm like semi-tempted to like make the video and be like, this is, because it doesn't have, it's just like it's not running. When I'm running it, it's not doing the thing, but I'm not getting like syntax errors and stuff. And I feel like, I think it's saying that like the stuff's not up to date and stuff like that. And when I like research it, then it's probably need like an extension or something like that. And I don't know.
Stuff not up to date. That sounds a little funky. Maybe once we get through talking about HTML, or maybe towards the end of this class,
okay,
I could, maybe at like the end of the class, could you share your screen? Because getting errors usually mean that you have a bug in your code. It doesn't usually mean that you need an extension or something.
Okay. I just don't know like exactly what it is that I'm doing wrong.
Yeah. Yes, totally. I would love to look at it and help you find out. So there's different kinds of errors you can get. Syntax errors is when you're typing in code and you miss a semicolon. You type in code that just can't even be interpreted
There's like
as
nothing
code.
wiggly. There's nothing wiggly about it. I've had like people.
So that's one kind of error you can get. Another kind of error is your code is all readable by the computer, but it does not do what you want it to do. And it as it tries to do what you ask it to do, it breaks. Something runs into something else and breaks.
Yeah.
So it is readable by the computer, but it is broken still.
Yeah. And I've been getting like help and stuff, and it looks good, but I just am like, it's not doing the things that I want it to do. So I feel like I'm like,
so it sounds like
the point, you know what I mean? Because it's like, yeah, you can have the code look good, but if it's not doing what you want it to do, then that's stupid. So
yes, you got yourselves probably some broken code. And I would love to, at the end of class, share your screen and we'll look at it, help you debug it, help you get it working.
Well, thank you.
Cassidy, what about you?
I'm kind of in a similar situation with Heather, I think. I did have a bunch of errors about it wouldn't work with modules, and someone did help me figure out that I needed an extension for live server, and that allowed me to run the modules.
Ooh.
Yeah, but
okay,
but now
interesting.
Yeah, but now my unit test, it's not running, it seems to not be running the description part, the describer. It just
Ooh.
I don't know. I'm stuck at that part.
Yeah,
But it
yeah.
doesn't give me, it doesn't show an error. It just isn't.
Just
I've
isn't. Oh yeah,
shared
that's
some
very annoying
screenshots.
too.
Yeah, I shared some screenshots last night and waiting for some feedback. So yeah, I'll hang out with Heather afterwards if that's
Yeah,
good.
yeah. Anybody who wants help and a class, I love debugging stuff. I can just sit around all day looking at y'all's weird bugs. So stick around at the end of class. You can share your screen. We'll walk through debugging it and find out what's going wrong and get it working.
Cool,
Thank
good. I
you.
don't want to be the only one. This is great.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, we got a party planned after at the end of class, so anyone can come to that. But we should talk HTML. We're supposed to, so let's do it. HTML is good. We need HTML. HTML typically isn't considered a programming language. It's just kind of like a structural language. You don't like write if else's and things like that or loops. You just sort of say like, here is an image, here is a paragraph, here is this, all that kind of stuff. It allows you to sort of define the content of the page. And what you might have seen is when you look at an HTML page that's just purely HTML, it is just like literal content, right? We got like enormous image, paragraph of text, a bunch of links, and it's just all one on top of the other. That is what HTML looks like. It's ugly, it's basic, and it's just about getting the bare bones content on there. So there's a general structure that you need to follow. Let's make a little HTML page here. Was it week 7? Week 7.html. So obviously we've been using this little guy, but first thing you need is the doc type. I highly recommend for this week, type it out, because the process of typing it out will drill it in your brain. And you just really want to get comfortable with this syntax. You don't want this to be holding you back as we start to get to manipulating HTML with DOM manipulation or React. You want to be comfortable with this syntax. So we make these tags. This is a little tag here. You always want to have this as the first line just because you do. It's what tells the browser, hey, I'm using modern HTML. If you leave this out, you'll go into weird quirks mode or whatever. Then we have our HTML tag. Goes around everything else. Nothing should be outside the HTML tag except for this doc type guy. Inside of there, we have the head and we have the body. Most things have an opening and a closing tag. So this is the opening tag, this is the closing tag. And then we can put things inside of them. We could put a paragraph inside of here with a bunch of text in it. We could put H2 inside of here with a bunch of text in it. I like to think of these like a book. So this is the front cover of the book. This vertical line right here that VS Code puts in is like the spine of the book. And this is the back cover of the book. And these are the pages of the book in my metaphor in my head. So one of the most important things with HTML, it does not break it for the computer, but it makes people very annoyed. Your coworker is very annoyed and makes your HTML very hard to read if you don't do indentation correctly. So you want to have that vertical line connecting opening and closing tags. They should be indented the same. So this closing tag should not be like this. It should not be like that. It should be lined up with this vertical line. It shouldn't be like this. It should be on its own line so that there can be this line attaching them. Perfectly fine for opening and closing tags to be on the same line together, but if they are not on the same line, then they should each have their own line and have a vertical line connecting them because they are indented the same. That's what we want. And then indented once, you can just hit one tab, indented once, anything inside of that is indented once from it. So that we don't want something breaking the spine of our book. We don't want to go body to P. We want to go body to closing body. The closing tag has a little slash at the end to say close body. I don't know. It's a thing. So HTML always has the head and the body. Make sure you don't put something between. Not here. Not before or after. I think should be in the head or in the body. The head is for information about the page. The body is for things that actually show up in the page. You can remember this like that. Your head is for your thoughts. Other people can't see them. They're just information about yourself. The body is for your clothes. People get to see it. So these are closed, people get to see it. These are head thoughts. That will be things like meta tags and like the title. This goes in the top tab in the browser. Rosie.
Okay, this might be a stupid question, but why is there the head one and then another head versus like then the stuff goes in between it and then the bodies are separating? Like, why is the head, does there have to be anything between those? Like, you're putting the title now, but like,
Oh, like, is there a reason why I just had like an empty space here?
yeah.
Just because I was gonna put something there.
Okay, got it.
That's all. Usually your head isn't empty. Your head is pretty much never empty. So you always
Okay.
at least want to have the title. No, not that.
And it's
You at
the
least wanna
opening
have the
head
title.
and then the closing head, right? Like that's kind of how it works. Same with the body, right?
Yes.
Like
Yeah,
the
there should be an
body.
opening and a closing head, and that you should have a title in there. You should have something in here. There's a couple others that you should probably have. You can see them. I don't have them memorized. You can see them when you do the $sign. You should have this one. This just says kind of what language of encoding we are using for this, just for the browser. It's not a tragedy if you don't have it, but it's a good idea. This one, in fact, both of these are helpful for styling, for things to look correctly when you are styling them with CSS. So if you're just doing HTML, technically this isn't going to affect you, but we're going to do CSS. So eventually we're going to make sure to do these. Do not have to have them memorized. I do not. I just find them when I need them.
What are they? The meta tags?
Yeah, these 3 different meta tags. Yeah. Sometimes you'll see other meta tags that can be helpful depending on what you're doing. A lot of the stuff in HTML is kind of a dotting your I's, crossing your T's stuff, like doing lang en on the HTML is another like, yeah, that's a good idea. But like if I'm just like playing around with some HTML like by myself, like I might not put like these in. I think I might just do this if I'm just doing stuff by myself. Not gonna ever put it anywhere. But as you start to like want to put things out actually on the web, there's a lot of little pieces you want to make sure are going to be nice no matter what language someone's browser is in and all that stuff, to make sure that your page is going to look nice. And so that's where some of these come in. Erin.
Yes, so I guess my question is I didn't use where I hand typed it. I just went and I used the doc type HTML. It auto-filled everything. But I do notice that it doesn't have the tabs. So yes.
Ooh, yes.
And the heads are not tabbed. I know you said that that's not proper code. So do we need to go and adjust that?
That is a great thing to bring up. The one place that it's actually okay to not indent it is the head and the body. Because everyone knows the head and body is inside of the HTML. So everyone just decided, that's unnecessary. We don't need to. You can, but it's fine if you don't too. So this is actually perfectly good HTML with the head not indented from the HTML. It's the only time you cannot indent it, but yes, you can. So this is perfectly good. Great thing to bring up because that is an important thing to note. Ethan.
So using that autofill thing, is that something that like any programmer would always use, or would you typically just write it yourself? Like say if you're not in VS Code or something.
If I'm a professional programmer, there's no way I'm typing this. 100%. Here's the thing, I don't make a lot of HTML pages. You don't actually just like sit around and make a bunch of HTML pages as a programmer. You'll make like one per project sometimes. Or like once we hit React, you literally will not make a HTML page. Like it'll get pre-filled for you. You'll write a bunch of inner HTML, but you won't like make the top to bottom thing. Like you won't put in this stuff. So when I occasionally do have to, I'm absolutely going to go like copy paste it or all that stuff. While you are learning, I recommend at least a couple times you type this in so that you get comfortable with it, so that you have some sense of what is happening here, so that you get comfortable writing this syntax, where you put the name of the attribute, you put an equal sign, and then in quotation marks, you put viewport. There's no spaces around the equal sign. And then there's a space between that and another attribute, and then there's no space around this equal sign. You want to be able to write code this way. And we are going to write things like this throughout the rest of this course. Not always just pure HTML, but things that follow this HTML syntax through the rest of this course, and you want to be comfortable with that syntax. So now is a great time to get comfortable with it, so that as we start to get a little fancy with this syntax, you have a depth of comfort in it, even though you haven't been working with HTML a long time. So I personally recommend spend some time right now, just type it out a few times, you know, for a couple things that you're doing over the next few weeks or whatever. Type it out, because it'll get you comfortable with this syntax of like, you put the name of the attribute, an equal sign with no spaces around it, and then the value in quotation marks. And that we put these inside the tag, like people always want to do this or whatever. As we start writing more complex code, if this isn't sort of like comfortable in your brain, things are going to get really hard, right? So take the time now to kind of drill this a little bit. It's my personal recommendation. Do what you want. Take the time now to drill this, not to memorize this, because you don't need to have this memorized, but to get comfortable with this syntax. Get comfortable, you know, what is happening? Get comfortable writing code like this, where I'm putting things in attributes like this. We're going to be doing this. React is actually built on this syntax. And so getting comfortable with this syntax will help as we get a little crazy with it later on. Aaron, oh, no, never mind. Adam. Nope. Oh yeah.
Well, in JavaScript, when we wrote some like arrays and stuff like that, that didn't really have it wasn't specific for like space for the characters and stuff like that, but HTML is.
No, if I do this, it's not going to break, but everyone's gonna look at you real strange. It's gonna look real strange, and it will break if you do this, which people love to do on accident. So that will break it. Also, when we get to React, it will get stricter about a few things that HTML is very lenient about right now. So you do want to get comfortable being a little bit tight about it, so that you don't have problems when we hit React. But no, HTML does not care if you do this, but you will look very inexperienced because HTML is so basic. We don't spend a lot of time on it, but that means that if you write bad HTML, you look really bad, right? Because HTML is so basic. So put in the time, drill a little bit so that you can write HTML, because it's like a big old red flag. If HTML, you can't write clean code, right? And if you're writing a bunch of stuff like this, that's going to carry over to when we start writing React code. And again, make your code look sloppy, make it look like you're just very inexperienced. But the computer won't care, just employers.
Did you already explain the metadata here, or like, so I see that's like the care set, and that's probably like the web browser that you're putting there, but am I supposed to know the different character sets and the different like
No, I vaguely know what each of these do, and I don't need to, and you don't need to. Okay. This one, yeah, does the chart set. It just says like, hey, are we all on the same page? We're using UTF-8? Great. This one handles the fact that Internet Explorer sucks. I looked up once exactly what it did, and then I promptly forgot, but Internet Explorer sucks. So sometimes we put in things like this to try to make it suck less. This one is specifically to make it look good on mobile devices. If you don't have this in, it looks crappy on mobile devices. You ever open a website on a mobile device and it looks like it's trying to be in like a computer browser and it's like tiny, right? And you're like, no, thank you. This kind of thing helps with this to say, hey, let's scale this to the actual device instead of pretending like we're in a computer browser or whatever. So that's basically what these are doing, but you don't. Having a vague idea is helpful, but yeah, it's fine. You just have to put them in. But again, if you're like a React developer, you don't write this ever. You never write these words. They They are way in all the process. You are writing JavaScript code. You're writing sort of way above that level of writing this stuff in little by little. So I would say the most important stuff of this week is not going deep on HTML. That's not going to do much for you. I've been using HTML for 15 years and there's so much I don't know about HTML and I don't care. It's boring and simple and just something that you need in the background to build on top of. But it is incredibly helpful that I'm very comfortable with this syntax. The fact that I'm very comfortable with this syntax is super helpful and will be throughout the rest of this course. Because what you don't want is issues in you don't want to do this. A equals something. And then have all your code not work because you put your attribute outside or you put your attribute on your end tag. People do that sometimes. You can't put attribute, this is bad, don't do this. But people do this sometimes and it breaks it, it won't work. And what you definitely don't want is like looking through hundreds of lines of JavaScript code trying to figure out why your code doesn't work and turns out it's an HTML error. You don't want that, right? That can be very frustrating and you will get laughed at. I hear coworkers. So nicely laughed at. So you just want to get really comfortable with this syntax. And how do you get comfortable? You just type a bunch of it out. So that is what I would focus on this week. Get comfortable with the syntax. Don't go deep on HTML. Not worth it. Just get comfortable with it. Any other questions? Yes, Erin.
So when I was watching the videos, I've already built my entire HTML page. I had two questions. One of the questions is, I watched the very last video and it talks about adding like a home about different pages, but in the homework it says you have to create 3 pages. Is that the same thing or do we have to number it is the first question? And then this.
Oh, like number the pages?
Well, see, that's why I'm asking.
I think just like making, I think it just means like 3 HTML pages that are connected together in some way.
That's what okay, just double checking, thank you. But the other question I have too is I cannot remember if the video explained or not how to grab a, like I wanted to put a photo up, but it's inside my computer. So when I did that, of course, I learned it gives an error because it doesn't really work like that. So I was able to grab one from online, but I also wanted to know how do you take one, I forget the term that they use, but how do you get one that's in a specific place that will always pull up every single time?
Yes. Oh, this is a really good question. So if you have any images or sound files or whatever that you want as part of your app, you need to pull it into this folder that you're working in. So like, you know, on my computer, I could have pictures in all kinds of places. I need to copy that picture and I need to put it in here somewhere. And I have done that. I have one right here. It's a beautiful picture of a chair. You can put it in a folder called images. It doesn't matter. It just needs to be in this folder. Don't try to like link to it way out somewhere on your computer. Get it in this folder. And then once it is in this folder, you can make an image element. And you just need to set the source equal to the path from the HTML file to that image. So images/chair.jpg. And now I can open up.
Was that inside of VS Code? And then like how
VS Code is just
are inherently JPEG or what?
Sorry, say it again.
Are images like, because you put the JPEG, like the JP, the whatever it is that inherently because
that's just how images end. You see it says chair right there, it's lying to you. This is also actually called chair.jpg. Oh, show me. JPG. Yeah. All images end in a dot something or other. All files end in dot something or other. Every single file on your computer everywhere ends in dot something or other, generally speaking. But often the browser hides that from you. So right here, I see it, the chair.jpg. Right here, I see it as just chair, just because, or sorry, not the browser, the like computer, the operating system hides that from you because it doesn't think you care. But this is a JPG file. It could be a .png. It could be a I don't know, any kind of image file, doesn't matter. You just need to get it not into VS Code, but into the folder that you are looking at in VS Code.
Okay. Did you
So
know
you can see
which
this is the
dot?
folder that I am looking at in VS Code. And so I got it inside of here somewhere, specifically down here in this images folder. And then it is available over here. And that means too that I can link to it. The problem is if you try to link to something out there, one, that's just not how we do things. We're always sort of assuming that maybe at some point you put this up on a website, right? And you couldn't put it up on a website if it says like, yeah, go over into my pictures folder and then go into this. You've got to like have the image with the HTML files if you wanted to go put it up on a website. So we want to get the image near the HTML file. And specifically live server gets mad if you try to like go out of where it's live servering. Because it's pretending to be a website. So you got to get your image in this area, the same folder that you are seeing in your VS Code. That will make it show up in your VS Code. Just if it's in this area, it will show up in your VS Code. Anything I put in this area will show up here because that's the folder I have open over here. And then once you do that, then you should be able to make a nice, simple little path to get to it. And then you can see your absolutely enormous picture. That help? Questions?
Yeah, that helps, and that makes sense because I tried a couple different things. I tried putting in like a Google Drive, that didn't work, and then that makes sense because you have to have it in the same folder as what you're working on there. Thank you.
Yes, you just want to get it in that same area. You can technically like link to images out on the internet. I'm trying to think of a good way to like show that right now, but you can technically do that. What?
That's what the video shows, is like that they link in like the URL to like
and drop it in here.
So how did you know that that was a JPG? Like other than that, it like says right there.
Because it says so. So. I didn't put .jpg on it right there. It put that, and so I just mimicked the same name it had.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. That's an excellent question. Yeah, I didn't like name it that. It just was named that because it's a JPG file. And any file you download, any image or whatever, it's gonna have dot something on the end, and you just need to put that on the end when you grab it. Whatever it is, .png, whatever. It is enormous, which generally speaking, we're gonna fix that with CSS. We're not gonna. You don't size your images. You can like literally go resize this image. This is just literally the size of the image, right? Because most images are actually huge, so that they're like nice looking. You can literally like take that image file, find something that resizes images and resize it. We're gonna use CSS to resize it. But if you're annoyed in this week and just want a quick way to resize it, you can do this. We don't generally do this actually in apps, but you can do this sort of this week just to like, be like, wow, all my images are too huge. So you can just throw like a width or something on there and it will like scale it based off that. Again, not something we tend to actually do in web apps, but convenient for this 1 week when we don't have CSS yet. And particularly so that it doesn't get all up in my face as I'm showing examples over here. So I'm going to do that so that my pictures are huge. But yes, that is how we get images in there. You absolutely can link to images somewhere out there on the internet, but if it's an image that you have access to, it's much better to just put it in this folder. Aaron.
Sorry, I really liked this week. I know you're a dog in it, but I liked this week.
No, I love it.
I just loved it. It was like 2000s. I guess I'm an early like adopter, but you know,
yeah.
I was trying to share it because I wanted to share because I was very proud that I was able to do it in like an hour, unlike all the rest of the other homework. I know, right? But how do you share it for someone to be able to see? Because everything that I keep seeing is literally my HTML file, like my folder that's in VS Code. So how do you get the web page?
Yes. You could send your HTML file to people and then they can open it up. If you send people your HTML file, I could email you this HTML file and you could go open it up and you would see this text. Now you would not see this image unless I also send you the image file and you put it in the exact same place that I put it in relation to the HTML file. But an HTML file is what it is, and you can send it to someone and they can open it in their browser. You know, you could put the image file like out here, and then you could just link to it like this. Here we go. And then you could send them the HTML file and the image file and just tell them to put them in the same folder together, and then they can open the HTML file and it will look just like yours. Let's see. Oh yeah, you can use Get Pages. That's true. Just another way, but it's beyond the images. Everything that you're seeing is literally contained within here, just like a Word doc has everything. It's all in there. You can send it around just like you could a Word doc. It's just any images you'd have to send as well. Deontay.
I can't quite remember, but isn't there a way you can like insert someone's email in there with a certain
Yes.
tag?
Yes, you can make a link. What is it? What is it? Mail to? At mail to? No, I can't even remember. But you can make a link that basically says, hey, when you click this, email me. Let's see if this one. Let's open up my Gmail. But yes, it started open. I guess it's opening up my Gmail. So when I clicked that link, it opened up my Gmail because that's what I have set up in my computer as my mail provider, whatever. So when they click on that link, it will try to open up an email to send to you, kind of a thing. You can also make ones for telephone numbers. These are good, like if they're on, is it Tel? I think it's Tel. Right amount of numbers, I don't know. But on like a cell phone, if they're looking at this on a mobile browser and they click that link, it'll pull up their phone app with that number pre-filled in, and then they could just click call if they want to. So you can do cool little things like that. That answer your question?
Yep, that answered it.
Yeah. Lots of just cool little things that you can do in HTML. You obviously also can make links to other pages. You can say this goes to home.html, and as long as that matches the path to wherever your home HTML page is. Again, you have to send all these together and tell them to put them all in the same folder or whatever the path setup is. We'll just say home. So that if we click on this link, it just moves over to that HTML page. We can hook things up however we want to hook up multiple HTML files. This is not how we will build actual apps, at least once we hit React. This doesn't tend to be how actual apps are built because it's sort of overly tedious to build this way. But these are, generally speaking, the building blocks that build apps. Adam.
Yeah, so I know this is just basically like the skeleton of like our web page, but it's somewhere here. I'm guessing it's in the header and the meta. Where do you put like keywords?
Oh, keywords? Yeah, you can put like a meta tag for like keywords, like for Google or something.
Yeah, like if you wanted to rank for white fucking dog or whatever, right? Like where do you put that?
Yeah, you can put it in the meta. These days, I don't think Google cares about those very much. Google has a very complex algorithm that it uses to look at the actual content of your page and decide what your page is about, as opposed to you telling it to. SEO these days, Google is very sophisticated, and anything you try to do to force yourself to rank higher will often end up ranking you lower. So you want to be kind of careful about that kind of a thing. Generally speaking, you just want to make content about what you would like to rank for and have your page be well set up and accessible and all that stuff, and that will help you rank.
So none of those old school tricks or anything are even in use anymore? Okay.
No. SEO is changing all the time. I'm not an expert on SEO. There's people that are always keeping it, but it's changing all the time because Google does not want you to just throw a bunch of words in there so that you can just rank high. They very much have a very complex algorithm to make sure that you're providing very high quality content about that. If you're writing a lot of really good articles about what snowboards to buy, do you buy snowboards? Is that what they're called? If you're writing really good quality content about what snowboards to buy and putting that out and setting up your HTML really nicely, really accessible and all that good stuff, clean HTML, then you are likely to rank high on that. But nothing else is really going to do it for you. Generally speaking these days. Again, not an expert. You can go out and look at stuff on that, but that's generally speaking what's happening these days in SEO. Erin.
Yes, I have two questions. One, how do you put a break? So if you have like a, what was it? It was called a table. I have a table in mind, and it literally pages like right next to it. How do you put a break so it there's like a space in between? Is it just like the BR, or do you go farther down?
Yes. So if I just put a bunch of space, there's a couple important things to talk about here. If I just put a bunch of space right here, it's not actually going to be way farther down, right? It doesn't care that I did that. Like imagine I put another A tag right here. Another link. I put all these spaces between, right? But it's just right there in the end. It completely ignored those. So extra spaces completely ignored. Now, if you are saying, hey, I have a paragraph down here or something, let me put a div actually to help illustrate this. I have a div down here and it's shoved right up against this and I want space. Don't use HTML to put space there. That's a no-go. We don't use HTML for layout. We don't use HTML for spacing. That is not how we use HTML. That is not what HTML is for. That's like considered bad HTML if you start doing that. We use CSS for that. The HTML is just to say what content there is. The CSS is to put that content into the look and structure that you want. Now, sometimes we'll slightly structure our HTML based on the structure it's going to have, but we'll use CSS to space things, not HTML. Now, occasionally you need a line break. One example of this is if you were like putting in an address, 1, 2, 3, 4 Main Street, and now you're not like trying to space these. It's just like literally you don't want it to say like Phoenix, Arizona. You don't want it to say that right here on the same line. You want it to be down here. But if you just put a literal enter, it will just put them on the same line, which we don't want. So then you can do the break tag. The break tag should only be used in situations where you just literally need an enter because the text that you're putting in is all one bit of text, but has an enter in it. So it should be used very sparingly. Very frequently, brand new people to HTML, their code looks like this everywhere. That is a huge sign that you're brand new to HTML. Someone looking at your code that sees a bunch of breaks in there, particularly multiple breaks, is immediately going to assume you're brand new to HTML and don't understand CSS. So you just don't want to make that a habit. We don't want to be doing that, really. This is a great place to use a break. Most other places aren't. I know it's annoying this week because we only have HTML and you want to make it look cool. You just got to wait for CSS. HTML is supposed to look ugly. That means you're doing it right. And then when we get to CSS, we can make it look cooler. So break will do it. But generally speaking, what we'll do that is margin and padding, which we will learn about in next week. But one thing that you can see is that paragraphs have margin and padding by default. You can see there's a space between these two. It's because I used a paragraph, and paragraphs have margin and padding by default, or margins by default. I can't remember. We'll talk about that next week. Other questions? Y'all have such good questions. I could just sit in this class forever answering questions. It's amazing. Okay. Dude, I have had classes where literally no one asks the question the entire time, and I get so lonely, y'all. And it's a sucky class, not gonna lie. Thanks, Ruby. It sucks. No one wants to hear me talk the whole time. Like, lame.
It must be scared because it is really intimidating where it's like every time I feel like every time I open my mouth, I'm just like, this is the stupidest thing and I should already know how to do it. So, you know.
But then it's not, but then it's super helpful. And I love it. No, totally. That is so true. They're just like, I'll just ask a mentor later, which like fair enough, but like the mentors only have so much time, and I'm here right now.
And it goes on forever. I feel like that happens to me a lot, is that I'm like, well, I'll figure it out. And if not, then I'll ask someone else. And then I'm just like, oh my God, I'm still on this thing. Anyways, Adam has
Yeah, that totally happens. Definitely how many students make their way all the way through the class is very related to how often people ask questions. When the classes stop asking questions, the number of people who start falling behind and not being able to keep them in the class skyrockets. So I love that y'all are asking questions. Adam.
So apparently CSS, that's going to do all our like colors and stuff like that. So if you have a brand, you don't even try and include it in HTML. HTML is just basically the framing and the foundation, and the paint and the trim is all CSS.
Yes. The HTML is like, if you think of like a house, the HTML is like, we're going to put a bathroom here. We're going to put a bedroom here. We're going to put a kitchen here. But if you are a home designer, that's the barest bones. It's hardly the smallest bit that you think about. All the things of like, oh, what kind of a countertop? What kind of countertop is it going to be? And where's the table going to go? And all that's all CSS. And then like the wiring, do the lights work and all that stuff? That's JavaScript. HTML is the tiniest little piece at the bottom that just gives us a foundation to step on. We don't spend our time in HTML, generally speaking, or we only use it as a structure to hang all our other stuff on. Other questions? Okay, let me just check the chat. HTML reminds me of Craigslist. Yeah, that is what there used to be sites. There didn't used to be CSS, okay, y'all? We used to lay things out using tables. Don't do that. Don't use tables to lay things out. Also, CSS used to suck, and it's better now. So, y'all don't understand what we went through. But so a couple things. Let's see. So we talked about links. We talked about images. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else we need to talk about here. We talked about that stuff. Divs are the building blocks of the web. Divs are by far the most common element that's used. They're a generic box, basically. And let me tell you, if you come into some website and you look at the HTML in here, it is just divs all the way down. Look at this. Just this thing right here is 6 divs inside of each other. And then we got some more divs and some more divs closing out. These are all the end div tags of all the divs. It is just divs upon divs inside of here. That is how we write code. Now, what you might notice is that a lot of these have very long classes where it says class equals, that's CSS. That's hooking the HTML into the CSS. So what you can see here is that a bunch of these classes just have a bunch of CSS classes on them. Or sorry, a bunch of these divs just have a bunch of CSS classes on them. That's what I'm talking about, where the HTML is just something to hang our CSS and JavaScript on. Why do we have all these divs? It's for the JavaScript and the CSS. You can ignore all these pieces. This is in fact, I think this is written in React actually. So we'll be writing stuff like this slightly. Actually, we'll be writing code that will tell React to make this for us. Because if you're like, I don't want to make all that, good news, you don't have to. We don't write all this crap. We write code that will eventually write all that crap. Blap, where are we? Let's just see a couple of things. ULs we're going to use a lot of images, tables. Tables are just for tabular data when you literally have a table of data, like, oh, you're like this is a table of data. You just all the things, and there's 3 columns with 3 things in it, whatever. When you have a literal table of data, we use tables. We do not use them for layout. We do not use them for anything else. Long time ago, we used to use tables for layout. We don't do that anymore. Spans are just a generic inline element, not used nearly as much as divs, but good to be aware of. One of the things that I would say is most sort of tricky about HTML is forms in HTML. So that's something that I would say in this week that is worth spending some time. to just, again, get comfortable with that syntax. If we are making a form, I'm just going to put, we don't put a bunch of spaces in our HTML like this. You never do that. You might put like one sometimes to kind of space things out, but I'm just going to put them in just to like give us visual space here as we work on something different. So if we make a form, there's a bunch of input elements that have different type. There's like type text, there's type date, there's type color, there's type number. They're all types of different inputs. We can put text in this one we can pick a date for, this one we can pick a color for. Ignore that little symbol, that's from an extension of mine, but this little color picture is just built into HTML. I just did input type equal color and this popped up. It's just in there. All kinds of different types of inputs just built into HTML. They're very annoying to style if you want them to look differently, but they are built in if you like them as is. Generally speaking, we want to put labels in that label each of these, that you can say name, birth date, and favorite color. That way the user knows what you intend to be picked for each of these things. Now, one of the things that will hurt you in a search engine and just in general, and could even get you in legal trouble depending on where you are working, is writing HTML code that is not accessible to people using things like screen readers, like people that are vision impaired and stuff like that. So like if you are working for somewhere like a government or a health place, they're legally obligated for their websites to be accessible to everyone. And so they can get in trouble if it is not accessible to everyone, legal trouble or whatever. So it's very important when you're writing HTML to have accessibility in mind. For example, as someone who can see, I'm just going to do this momentarily. Again, we don't use breaks like this, but pretend I'm using CSS to put these on their own lines. As someone who can see, I can see that it says name and then this text box. So I assume that this text box has to do with name, right? But if you're not someone that can see, then it's just going to read these off one after the other. And it can be hard to tell if this label is connected to this text box or to this text box or this date box or whatever. So we have an attribute for, and then we put an ID on the text box and we make these two match. So this one could be like name text box. We can pick whatever we want, just no spaces in it. That's why I did a dash instead of a space. And then we make this one have the same. And now these two are connected so that a screen reader knows that they're connected. Or a password manager or a search engine crawling it, all these things. If your stuff is not accessible, that will hurt you in search engine results and things like that too. Sorry, my voice is struggling. Also, when you connect your label and your inputs up like that, if you click on the label, it will focus the input. So you should always connect your labels and your inputs. We'll be making lots of forms through the course of this class, and you're going to want to always connect up your labels and your inputs. You can pick any name that you want. I'm just making these up. They just have to match. They have to match exactly. For example, if I do color pisser, because I forgot the K, then they will not be connected. You can see if I click on this, let's see, if I click on this, it's connected to that one. But if I click on this, it's not. That birthday one not working either. Let's see. Maybe date ones don't like focus it. I think they did. I don't know. Maybe I broke it. This one's not working. It has to match exactly. And now when I click on this, it focuses that color picker. I don't know why the date one isn't. Oh no, there it is. It's working. Yeah, there we go. I don't know. Maybe it needs to refresh. But so you want to connect these together like that. And as you make forms, there'll be other more complicated pieces you'll put on here to hook it all up into actually working. But this is just the HTML side of it. HTML is often focused on accessibility, on clean setup, on creating a great structure that you can hang everything else on. Adam.
So the video showed us how to use a placeholder. Does that connect them up too, or no?
Placeholder is just something like doing like placeholder right here.
Yep.
It's just another little feature that you can put a little placeholder. It does not connect it to the label.
So that doesn't help the impaired.
Like screen readers. I don't know if screen readers read placeholders. They might. They might read the placeholder. But you usually do want a label. Often if trying to remember how like accessibility wise we tend to handle this. If you're doing one of those where like you don't have like labels outside, often they'll do something where they hook it up with JavaScript so that the placeholder is actually a label that then moves out of the way when you go to type into it. Just because we always want to make sure that it both works for people who are interacting with your site visually and through a screen reader and things like that. You also want to make sure that like if they're tabbing through it, that's going to work nicely for them. For example, what if your thing is getting opened up on like an Xbox or something? Those have like freaking web browsers and stuff these days. If it's getting opened up on another device that isn't navigated through a mouse, they may need to navigate through some kind of tabbing setup, and you want that to be convenient. You don't want that to be annoying. Accessibility is huge these days and only getting bigger. To make sure that your website is going to be usable across all the many ways and all the many ways to access your website for people of all abilities. Other questions? Yeah. You can always look up stuff on accessibility too, like how to make an accessible, date picker or whatever. And it will talk about how to make sure that that's going to work nicely. Sometimes you use the built-in things for stuff. Like sometimes you use this built-in color one, which is going to be accessible. So the browser is set up for it to be. But if you make your own from scratch, you need to make sure it's accessible. I just made my own like selector from scratch. That's another type of thing. Label in here, whatever. A select that has like a bunch of options. Option one. I just made one of these from scratch, and so I had to put in a bunch of extra stuff to make sure that it would be accessible, even though I was making it from scratch. Something to think about. Any other questions? Okay. One other thing that you might see in HTML, again, has to do with accessibility, is the ARIA attributes. They are, that's probably a cool one. This is probably a cool article. Anyways, you'll see that I'm trying to find an example of it. Yeah, here we go. There'll be things like ARIA labeled by equals. Again, are for screen readers to make sure in more complex situations in your app that it's going to be accessible to screen readers and things like that. So again, accessibility, huge in HTML when we're talking HTML. Any other questions? Yeah, we took a full hour on HTML. That's fun. Oh, this is just for funsies. This is for funsies. I put it in this week because why not this week? One thing that is very hard to do when you are new at programming is pick good names for your variables. It's very hard to do, but picking bad names for your variables can make your code very hard to read. So obviously there's always differences of opinion on naming variables. I can only talk from my own opinions, but it can be helpful to have a slight guide on that. Again, you'll get better at it over time and as you notice how people tend to name things. But rather than naming our variable array that's too non-specific, we can name it movie list. Now we know what's in there. We know it's a list of movies or whatever. Rather than naming it count, we can name it empty seat count. Now we know it's counting how many empty seats there are, things like that. They should be, variable names should be nouns. So a variable should not be called add together. A function should be called verbs. A variable could be called sum or total, but not add together because that is a verb, like that. One place where people tend to really do this is like in this sort of space as they're naming their parameters. For example, they'll be trying to check if all the, or set all the emails to red or whatever, and so they'll call their parameter red email. But then we get something that says red email.red equals true. And you're like, well, if it's a red email, shouldn't it already be true? More normal is to call that email because it's going to hold all of the emails, some of which at this point may be red or not red, and then mark all of those to true. Or for example, if we're trying to filter for only the even numbers, we call this variable even numbers, but for some reason students love to call this parameter even number too. We don't call the parameter even number because it is just going to hold each of the numbers, some of which will be even. So instead we might call it number or num or n or whatever. And then once we get the array of only even numbers, we can put that in a variable called even numbers. Or this one that I see all the time too. If you're like, what the freak is happening here? It's so hard to understand what this means. Just because we're about to map each book to a name, it doesn't mean we should call our parameter name. We should call it book because that's what it's going to have in it. And then we can map each book to its name. Things like that I see all the time in students' code. Why does this matter? Because this code right here is so hard to tell what is happening in it. You look at this and you have to go back and forth all the time to try to figure out what is even happening in here and what are we doing and what does this mean? For example, like this is how my brain would read this out loud. My brain, like, or a programmer's, brain would read this out loud. Particularly this one is the one where my brain really just starts to look at what's happening. Because I would read this as, we filter through get all to check and check each has author and keep the ones where the has author's author matches check. That is how my brain reads this line, and it is gibberish gobbledygook, right? But if we instead, all that's different between these two is the names of the variables. If we instead name our variables like this, then when my brain reads this line, it says, we filter through the emails and check each email to keep the ones where the email's author matches author query. Now, I understand what that means. I know, I have an idea, even though I don't know anything else about what's happening around there. I now have a good idea about what this line is doing. And by instead of calling this get all matching, which I'm like, what does that mean? It's called search emails. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense. And I'm giving it an author query and an is read query, and then I'm using that in here. Okay, like I know what's happening here. So it's very common when you're new to learning programming to just have no idea what to name your variables, which fair enough. Even experienced programmers are like, what the freak do I name this? Generally, longer, more specific names is better. This is called search emails. This is called emails with author. Instead of matched items, emails with author, at least to my brain, is more specific and makes more sense to me. These are the emails with the author that we were searching for, things like that. So again, I am not the source of all truth, and this is not the perfect names to name variables, but just a thing I like to bring up while we have a minute here, because being just slightly aware of this, you'll get better at it over time naturally, so you don't have to like stress about it. But just being slightly aware of it will help you not confuse yourself, because often people will be like, I just don't even know what's wrong in here, like, because they can't read it either, right? Whereas if you just clean up some of the names of your emails, it becomes a lot easier for you to understand what you're doing as well. Or sorry, names of your variables. I said emails. If you use the right word for things, it makes more sense. That's what I'm saying. Anyways, again, not something you can just like, now I'll be perfect at that. You can't be perfect at it, but just something to file in the back of your brain as you move forward. Anyways, who cares? That is HTML. Any questions on anything? Should we do a code wars? Let's do this. Let's code wars. What do y'all want to do? Go away. I have a couple I have grabbed. I've done vending machine quite a few times. I really like it. It is arrays of objects and it is classes. So I think it's like a nice combo of a couple things y'all have been looking at, but I have done a lot of times. So you could also find a previous video of me doing that one. Disembowel trolls is kind of fun. I have done this one before. It's more of just like a little problem, more like something that you might want to try to do in Code Wars. I don't think I've done this one before, but it looked fun. Yeah, I haven't done this one before. This one I have. I haven't done this one before, so we can do one I haven't done before.
Let's do that, and then you can And then you can like let us know how to find you doing the vending machine one, because at first I was like, yeah, we should do that one because that makes a lot of sense, and especially if it's covering things that we already have. But if we can like
Yeah.
pull it up, because that's how I learn the best, is like
Okay, yeah.
is a lot of stuff, and then I go
Yes.
through a long period of like what, and then it clicks, and then I'm like, I don't know why that took me
Yes.
forever to grasp a simple concept. So
That is how learning works. Programming, every concept in programming is impossible and makes no sense until it's easy and makes perfect sense. Those are the only two spots it can be. And then you're like, well, I mean, that part's easy. That's why it can feel like you're not making any progress, because you're like, well, obviously I can do that. That's easy. Because you forget that like 2 weeks ago, that was impossible. But yes, let's do this one. And I can find a video of me doing this one. I can't remember last time I did disembowel trolls, but I can find a video of me doing that one. I've done it at least twice. Let's do this one because I've never done it before. So quick intro to Code Wars if you have not been intro to Code Wars. It's a fun little site. It's got a bunch of little puzzles on it, which I love. I love little puzzles. And when you like come to the site, it'll look something like this and be like, you should do this one. You can ignore that. You can just go to right here where it says practice, and you can look through all the possible ones. Specifically, you can look through 8, which is the easiest. Start here. So you can click on 8 and come on, there we go. And it will show you all the number 8s. My vague thought is that your goal should be 6 eventually to get there. That's my vague thought, not based on anything scientific, but based on slightly playing around with Code Wars before, is that start with 8, and then by the time you're starting to like apply for jobs, see if you can work up to just barely be able to do 6s. That I think would put you in a good place for interviews. I mean, vaguely speaking. You never have to get to 3s. You never have to do that. You never have to do even like 4s. You never have to do them. They're all just made up overly complex problems for funsies. So even though you see like, oh my gosh, hey, you don't have to do these. Like 5 is as hard as you should ever look at, really. These are just for crazy people. So, but 6 is a great spot to try to like just barely reach for, like just barely. So start with 8, see if you can work yourself up to 7 over the course of this class is what I would say, and then see if you can get to 6 after this class. Would be maybe a timeline I would throw out there. Again, not scientific, no guarantees, just like if you want a sense. So I like to throw out opinions so that you can at least have a specific one, but then go out and get other sources of opinions as well. So you can say I want JavaScript and difficulty 8, and then you can find one of these and just start doing it. You can look at like how many people have solved it, like what percentage, which can help you like tell probably how easy it is. This one hasn't been solved by that many people, but most of them got it, so maybe that's easy. I don't know. And you can go check it out, and it will describe it to you. These are just problems people came up with, and not all of them are good. Some of them are annoying, but it looks like, oh, emails, but with the geese removed. Oh, fascinating. Fascinating. So we are going to do what one are we doing? Oh, I moved away from what we were doing. We are going to do how many unique consonants, which is a level 7, so a bit above 8, but not crazy town. So 7 is a really good spot to get to and really grind away at if you can. Start with 8. 8's going to be plenty hard. These are not made for brand new beginners. These are made for programmers. So the easiest is like easy for an entry-level programmer, not easy for a brand new beginner, right? They're going to be still pretty hard. The level 7s have a lot of like looping over stuff, which is a really good thing to practice. So this one says, make a function that counts the unique consonants in a string. So anything but A, E, I, O, U, so Y is a consonant, it looks like. So it'll give you some examples, like add has one unique consonant. D is the only unique consonant. Dad has one unique consonant. D is the only unique consonant. So immediately I'm noticing that it considers uppercase D and lowercase d to be the same. So that means I need to ignore case. This kind of a thing, this kind of a problem is absolutely like the kind of stuff you might be given in an interview. Very much, they might say, make me a function, blah, 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 blah. Here's some examples. And then want you to code that in front of them while talking through your thinking. That's a very common thing to have in an interview. So practice it now. If you do a code war like almost every day, that will do amazing things for your skill levels. Just drill in that. And it'll be a struggle. Ask for help when you get stuck and then do another one. And then you get stuck and then ask for help. Get through that one, do another one. Just keep asking for help, struggling through again and again to build your ability to do these. Anyways, I'm rambling. Let's start. Let's do this. So when I'm doing a problem like this, I have two rules that I tell students. One, think it out like a human first. You don't have to do this. The two is start with what you know. The most common problem that people run into when they're trying to do these kinds of problems is looking at it and just immediately freezing up and just being like, I cannot do that. I have no idea. You probably do have some idea. You just get stuck in freeze mode because it looks real scary. Your brain is like, protect yourself. We must not fail, run away. But we have to fail. We got to push through that and fail. So two things that can help with that is to start thinking out like a human first and start with what you know. So just in general, I'm going to read through this. Well, we already kind of read through it, that we need to take in a string, takes in a string right here, and then it needs to return some number. So like return 0 or 1 or 2 or 3 or whatever, corresponding to how many consonants there were, 21 or 7 or whatever in that string. So let's look at the first one. Think it out like a human first. First thing I might do is walk through an example as a human being. Like, okay, so if I get this, if I get Tatty as my, if this is what string gets set to or whatever, how would I walk through this like a human being? Well, I might look at each letter. Okay, we've got a D, and I might make a list somewhere of what letters I've seen. Okay, A, that's a vowel, I don't care. D, all right, I got no D. Oh, I already have D. So, oh, D, no D, I already have D. Okay, so I won't add anything. Y, that's new. Y, and then I might count how many I have here. 1, 2. Okay, so I would return 2. Walking through it like a very stupid human being. Computers are just really stupid people that are very good at math. So walk through it like a very stupid human being, very slowly, taking note of what exactly you were doing, that you were looking at each letter, noticing that you already have that one. Pretend you have no memory. So you're like, have I seen a D? I have no idea. I must check. Oh, I have. You know, going back and forth and doing that. And then being like, how many did I get? Oh, I'll have to count each one. 1, 2, you know, and then return 2. I've now walked through what I need to tell the computer to do. So get that. That's the first step. Then now we want to start with what we know. That might be like, well, how the freak do I get a computer to do that? Start with what you know. Oh, the other thing. Oh, I have another one ready. Make it stupid and crappy first. Don't try to make it perfect. Make it so dumb, broken. Why would you even do that? Do it that way first. That'll help your brain think this through. So I know that I'm going to need to look at each letter in here. If I'm looking at each letter of a string and then doing a check on each one, so I'm doing something then over and over again. What programming concept do I need for that? Anyone have a guess?
A for loop with the char.
Yes, we can do a for loop. We need some kind of a loop so that we can loop over each letter in here and do the same thing each time. We're doing the same thing over and over again, seeing if we should add it to our list of consonants. So we're going to have a loop. Make it stupid too first. Make it stupid first. Write it out, not even as real code first. Just be like for loop over characters in stir. This is totally broken, right? That's not real code. Doesn't matter. Write it like that first. And then we're going to return how many consonants there are, right? Write it all dumb like this. Okay. I need some way to keep track of how many consonants I have so far. Because I noticed that I had to like come back here and check if I had one already. I'm going to need to keep track of what consonants I've seen so far. So I'm going to make an array for that. Seen consonants? I don't know. Oh my gosh, consonants. I'm going to call it seen because I don't want to type out consonants. Seen. So it'll be an empty array. And then some point in here, we're going to add each letter to seen, right? And then we need to return how many we saw. How could we return how many we've seen? We're assuming that we're adding it to seen. Now when we get to this line, how could we return how many we saw?
Scene.length.
Yeah, good job. We can do scene.length right here. So now I've got like a little bit of a structure. Dude, if you're in an interview and you get to write here and then you're stuck, you've still displayed a lot of good problem solving skills and you might still get the job because you've shown that you have a good sense of this. You've shown that you can think this through. If you get stuck in some of the weeds in here, that can be okay. So this is why we do these things and we make it stupid and crappy first and we start with what we know. I didn't really do that one as much, but because that could still get you there. And if you instead be like, well, I don't even know how to check each of these, that seems way too complicated. Don't worry about that. Do the dumb parts that you know first. And now somewhere in here, now I'd probably think it out like a human being. I'd probably put some comments in here or just literally type crap in here and be like, okay, so I'm going to like look at the character, be like, is it a consonant or like, is it a vowel? And if it is a consonant, I'm not going to spell consonant, right? Then add it to seen. Oh, but wait, if we already saw it though, don't add it again. You know, I might just like write out some notes really quick. I might make these comments so that they don't break my code. But, to just like think about some of the little things like, oh yeah, very sad. And then let me fill this in. So let's see if we can fill this in right here. Does anyone know what should we put right here? What should we put in here to loop over the characters? Anyone have a guess or just some piece that we might want in there?
Let I equals 0, I less than length, I plus plus.
Yes, very close. We got one issue. What is length?
Scene.length.
Yeah. Oh, not scene.length. String.length. Because we want to loop over. But yes, you had it. Good job. Yes. String.length because we want to loop over everything in the string. That way, as we're looking at each character, now see again, I'm going to start with what I know. I know how to look at each character. Each character, that's going to be string I. That's how I can look at each one, right? Okay, so I got that. Now I need to look at some of these. All right. So we're going to make it stupid and crappy first. We're not even going to worry about these. Don't even care, actually. I'm going to make it stupid and crappy first. I'm just going to add it to scene. I'm just going to add it to scene. Just no matter what. No matter if we've seen it before, no matter if it's a vowel, because I'm going to make it stupid and crappy first and see what that does. See where that gets me. Okay, I got a number. I got 11. Do not count duplicate consonants. Yeah. But 11, I think that's the whole thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so it added each character in there. That's a good sign. I might do a console.log to make sure that it is adding all of them. Sorry, y'all. Need some cough syrup. Ooh. Sorry, gotta take a shot. Cough medicine. It was not alcohol, that was cough medicine. Okay, what if I just like took shots?
I think you did. It's like brandy. Woo!
Just pretend it's cough medicine. Okay, so I have now made it crappy, and I know that it's working in my crappy way. Make it crappy and then improve it. Because here's the thing. Again, I've got code that's working now. That's exciting. I can try to work from there. So right now, I'm doing every single character. Not very helpful, right? Let's have it. Oh, yeah, Cassidy. You there, Cassidy?
Hit the
Sorry,
mute.
mute. I was gonna give a suggestion for the consonant one. Would you need a conditional for if I is not if I is not equal to A-E-I-O-U, then push
Ooh,
it.
yeah. Then push it. Oh yeah, let's do that. Let's do the consonant one. Let's get it to only have consonants in here and not vowels. Yes, I love it. So if I is not equal to, so let's just do this for now. If I is not equal to A and I is not equal to I, A-E-I-O. So 5 of them. A E 3 I O U. If it's not equal to those, then we'll push it. So we won't just push it all the time. We'll only push it in this case. Now, we got a problem. It's still pushing the vowels.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Someone said, can you share the link? I absolutely can share the link. And I'm sorry that I didn't before. I will drop it in the Zoom. That's in Zoom now. Is it true that some of the 1s and 2s can take days or weeks to solve? Yes. Am I still stuck on a 2 for friggin' ever? Maybe. But yes, 100%. And they're stupid. They're like stupid things that you would never do, just for funsies. Did I at one point go into a spiral of addiction to Code Wars? Maybe. But I stepped away because I have a real job and I can't just solve dumb puzzles all the time. You hit a sore point, okay? You riled me up. That's what happens if you take a shot of alcohol in class. It was cold medicine. Okay. Anyways, does anyone know what is our problem? Why is it still pushing the vowels? This is when you're like, I hate Code Wars.
I is a number. It's not a string.
Yes. Someone else is doing their hands, probably saying the thing. Yes. Checking I is a number. Here's what I would do if I didn't know what was happening. I would put in a bunch of console logs, probably like this as I panic. Console.log I is not equal I or whatever. To try to figure out how I got in here, like I would put a bunch of console logs to be like, what are we mad at? And then I'd be like 0, 1, 2. Oh, that is probably what my brain would do as I slowly figured out why it's always saying that it's not equal to I, even when it is. It's because I is always a number. So how can we fix this? We have to index in string I. We're gonna put this on all of them. Very annoying. One thing I also highly recommend when you are solving these is don't optimize before you have it working. Now, is there fancier ways we could check for vowels? Yes, there is. Don't optimize till you got it working because you can just spend forever. Get it working badly and then make it pretty if you want to, but get it working first. We can talk about ways to optimize this later, but again, we're not not worrying about uppercase, lowercase right now. We're just trying to get the vowels out. And look at that, it works. Vowels out. So we did this bit. We did this bit. One thing we need to do, we don't want to add it if we've already seen it. So for example, we're getting L in there twice, which we don't want. How can we do this? How can we make it smarter now and have it not add it if we've already seen it?
Can we write some type of loop for not repeating?
Ooh, we don't need a loop because we don't need to. Oh, I guess I guess to some degree we do need a loop in the sense that we need to loop over scene and check if it's already in there, right? Yeah, so you are right. We can loop over scene and check if it's already in there, and if it's already in there, then we don't push it. Luckily, there's something already written that does this. The includes array method. So we can say if it's none of these and scene dot includes string I is false and not, is it includes or contains? I think it's includes. Scene dot includes string I, not that. It's not found in there. Then we want to push it. You could also, if your brain likes this better, make another if inside of here. That would work as well. So rather than putting it in as an and on the end, you could do another if right here. And then only do it if it gets inside both of these. That would work as well. Well, let's see if it works actually. Hey, look at that, it works. So we just need to make sure that we're only pushing if both of these things are true, that we've not seen it before and it's none of these letters. One problem, we need to make sure that this works with upper or lowercase letters. Do not trust these tests to tell you that it's actually fully working, because this has one crappy test. If I had added another test in here, like with an upper and lowercase L, case insensitive, this is like the error message or whatever. Sensitive. And then do my test. Now I'm gonna fail it, right? Because I'm counting lowercase L and uppercase L as different letters. Now that means that I would need to put it to lowercase when I add it, maybe is one way I could fix this. I could put it to lowercase when I add it and put it to lowercase when I check it as well. That also then means I need to check it against all the uppercase letters, which is very annoying. I'm just gonna throw that on the end, which is 7. I'm just gonna throw that on the end for right now for funsies. So we'll just do all the uppercase. And now this should maybe follow all the rules. Doesn't count duplicates, it doesn't count vowels, it handles upper and lowercase. If we do an attempt, no, let's see. Expected 9 to equal 7. Ooh, a space. We have to not count the spaces. And string I does not equal spaces. Let's see. There we go. Oh no, wait, no, we got an attempt. No. Okay. And it has to be a letter. So we've got to we've got to check that it is a letter, but it's not a vowel. Oh, anyway. Which makes me think maybe we should switch this the other way. But there's actually a fun little trick that I'm going to show you. Again, this doesn't matter, but because we have 2 minutes left, I'll just show it to you right now. Rather than like throwing 1 million things in here, here's something we can do. Consonants equals, what is it? B, C, D, E, F. Let's make them all. B, C, D, E, F. No, not E, F. H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T. I have to like look at my hands right now because I can't. V, W, X, Y, Z. That right? That looks right. I can do that. And then instead of all of this garbage, I can just say, if consonants dot includes string I dot 2 lowercase, then it must be one of these consonants and we're good. I expected a round of applause there. What the heck? Thank you. But I didn't even think of this, y'all. I found it in someone else's code word solution. I was like, that's so smart. I should do that next time. So no programmers are smart. We just steal from other people. Ruby.
That only work with consonants? Or can you?
No, you could do it for vowels instead. Yeah, I mean, it basically anytime you have a string of stuff equals apple, banana, cucumber. Oh, I like cucumbers. Now, anytime you want, you could say the string of stuff includes, apple, and that's going to be true. But if I do pine cone, it's going to be false. Because includes just says, is there a chunk in here that matches? If there is, then it says true. So it's just a cool trick, again, that I did not think of. But I liked having you guys think that I thought of it for a few seconds there. So we can just say, hey, if this big long string of crap includes string I as lowercase, a lowercase version of string I, if it's in there somewhere, then it must be a consonant, because these are just all the consonants, if I didn't miss one in there. So we're good. We got a consonant. A little trick. Let's see. String not char at. Yeah, you could do that as well. Yeah, instead of doing string I, you could do string not char at. Is that what it's called? Or just the same. No difference. Two ways to do the same thing. And then we could combine these into one, because now it's much simpler. If it's a consonant and we haven't seen it before, then put it in. And now we're looping over each one. If it's a consonant, we push it in. We're going to take up this consonant log, and then let's attempt to make sure I didn't break it. I didn't break it. Yeah. Any questions with that? 31. Sorry, I went over a little bit. Again, what I had before, well, it didn't quite work because I had to flip it to check consonants instead of vowels, because it needed to not count all the numbers and things out there. So we had to flip it over to consonants, but you could check for each of these individually, and that is perfectly fine. You don't need to write the most pretty code of all time. That's fine. You're going to be writing the ugliest code you're ever going to write right now, right? You're just going to get better and better all the time. I look back on code I wrote a year or two ago, and I feel sad when I see it. So you're going to do the same. Write ugly, ugly code. And then in 2 years, you're going to feel so proud of yourself that you're so much better now. So this is really pretty, and I got it from someone else. So it's not even my idea. My brain isn't pretty. Write ugly, write 50 checks, each one checking for each consonant. Just get it working. Just get some solution. And then feel so proud of yourself and try another one. So we can submit. When you submit, it'll show you everyone's pretty solutions. Steal their ideas, use them on the next one. Someone used regular expressions, run away, they're a bad person. Let's see. Oh, look, this is like ours. It makes a little variable here. That's nice. Yeah, someone made that big long string. Look, see, I got it from other people. And then they check, hey, if it's, they have two ifs here. If it doesn't include it, or if it includes it, if it's a consonant, and it's not already in our list of consonants. Oh, they like keep a little track of it. Oh, that's nice. They just kind of throw it in the end of the string. That's one way to do it. I like it. People doing fancy things. People doing fancy things with regular expressions. Run away, run away. Lots of regular expression fancy things. We don't need those. Someone did a fancy one. It looks like they did, like they're checking for the vowels. Getting like character codes, very fancy. Anyways, it was someone put like all the vowels in a thing, and then maybe they're checking that it's not something else. Oh, someone using the reduce array method. Scary, scary. Anyways, you can kind of just look through, ignore the ones that are scary, and just run away from those. And find different ways that people did this, oh yeah, someone put like all the lower and uppercase in the string. That's nice. Then you don't have to like do the two lowercase bits. So it's a better way to do it. Anyways, we can see all kinds of ways that you can solve this. Take a look at some of them, see if there's any things you could use in your next one, and go try another one. And that is how we get good at programming. That's how we do it, just trying stuff. If you find fun ones, post them on the Slack channel and share them with each other, If you get stuck, message me. I do have an addiction to little programming puzzles, so I will get very excited and help you. What I do though, I'll give you hints. I'll give you hints, little nudges to help move you along a little bit. Ideally, next week, one of you all could find a Code Wars that you like and post it out, or I could find one sort of before class and give you all a chance to kind of try to do it before class, get stuck, and then you can see how I might solve it. And that can help. Just, again, you're going to suck at this when you start. You're just going to suck so bad. And you just got to keep trying, keep going, and you'll get a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better. If you do it over and over and over and over again, you'll get freaking awesome. And interviews will be a breeze. Anyways, I went 5 minutes over. Sorry, y'all. But I will, I will post my code for this, my solution to it. So y'all can see it. But definitely check out other people's because those were awesome. And that is the end of class. We're gonna have a little party after class with people showing off where their code got stuck, and I can help you out with it. Next week we learn CSS, and we'll do another Code Wars problem. I will find a video of me doing vending machine because it is a great one, and share that with y'all. Yeah, that's everything. Have a great week, y'all, and I'll see you next week. Rosie.
So I just have kind of it might be a dumb question, but so when I was creating my game this week, I like finally got it all done, and I had a friend helping me with it, and it then was just like 2 hours of going through it, getting all the errors out. Is that regular, or did I just write it terrible? Okay.
Oh no, that's so normal.
Okay. Yeah, because
even if
he's
you've been
really good at
programming
it.
a long time.
He's really good at it, and he was like, there cannot be more errors, and it just kept running errors, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, no, that is I tell you, like, so much of what programmers do is debugging. That is so much of what we do. So how software, the coolest software you've ever made started out as a piece of broken junk and had to be fixed over and over and over again until it worked kind of well. That is how software is made. Spending hours debugging is very normal. What you like to say is like there'll be like 2 errors and you fix one, and then somehow you have 10 errors and you're like, how did I get more? That is just how it goes. And it's great practice because that's so much of what your job is. In fact, they'll often put new developers on bug fixing. So it'll be bugs that have been found throughout the code. Who even knows who got it in there? It just is in there. And you'll go fix them. So you'll spend literally all your time fixing bugs for a little while.
I just have like a little part 2 of that question. So the thing that I was really hugely confused with, and I ended up just turning it in because I was just confused at that point, was running it through Mocha and running it through chat and like doing that. So is there anything like I can go back to, or is there anything kind of like there's like a free code boot camp that like I found some stuff on that like you can do like things that runs it through you, but is there anything like that for like those 2 things?
So you're saying like you were having a hard time understanding how Mocha and Chai were running your code?
Yeah, like I didn't even really know how to use them to run the code, if that makes sense.
Okay, yes. So you don't use Mocha and Chai to run your code when like you're actually, let me open up my stuff from last week. You don't use it to like run your code when it's like actually being used by users. You don't like play the game through it. It's just that when you are testing your code, rather than, so you might have an HTML page that actually like runs your code, and that's the actual like app, right? But then you might also have another HTML page that does this mocha.run. And when this does it, what it's going to do is pull in your test code, whatever I threw in here, and just run this code that won't run your actual game. It'll just run a bunch of tests against your game, right?
Okay.
And all you need to do is have this HTML file that basically looks exactly like this and pulls in your 2 files so that it can run them. This right here is going to run a bunch of code, and one of the things it's going to do is...
You're not sharing your screen, Natalie. Sorry, I didn't want to...
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much.
I was like, am I supposed to be looking at something?
I'm so sorry. I do that all the time. Thank you. Interrupt me anytime. Yes, sorry. So you can have an HTML page that like runs your code, right? Your menu app, you just pull in your data, and that one when you open it up, it runs it and you actually play the game or whatever. But then you might have another HTML file that looks basically exactly like this. All that's different is that you would put in your two things and then you'd have your test file or whatever. And that would run it through tests. And that's the place where Mocha and Chai would run your code because it would run this stuff for you.
So in the other one that you clicked on right before that one,
This one?
no, the test HTML.
Mhm.
So like you put like the script source like mocha dash mocha and chai dash type in the same thing. That's what I was really confused on. Like I thought it had to be separate things. So I like kept writing like two different separate pages with those.
Wait, like right here and here?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes, you can have multiple script things in the same page.
Okay.
These are all script tags and they can all be in the same page. So we have one to pull in Mocha, one to pull in Chai, one to get things ready, I guess. One to pull in your actual code, one to pull in your tests, and then one to start it all off.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay.
You can literally copy and paste this, change this, and you're good.
Oh,
That's all you
perfect.
gotta
Okay.
do. Nothing else.
Cool.
You don't have to do anything else, but just change it to pull in your files and have literally the rest of this exactly the same.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
As long as you've written your test files, whatever your tests are, that's all you gotta do. You don't gotta like run it specially through Mocha and Chai. There's like ways to do that through here, but we're just doing it through HTML. And this is all you gotta do. Copy paste, change these two lines.
Okay, cool.
That was a great question. You're always like, this could be a dumb question, and then it's like a super pertinent question. And I'm always like, y'all, you have amazing questions. Why don't you believe it? Thank you so much for that question. Other questions?
Why does it say just Mocha Run? Wouldn't it also be Chai Run too if we have both of them together, like in one?
Good question. No, because Mocha is the one that sort of sets up all the describes. Chai, we are just using as like a little helper. We're just using Chai right here. We don't need to kick off Chai because Chai we are using. Chai is not the thing that is using us. Mocha kicks all this off. Chai just gets used by us as a helper tool. This isn't like using different libraries. It's not like specific that you have to do this. It's just that Mocha specifically does this. Other libraries, you don't do that. Question. Other questions? Man, my voice does not want to stick around. Aaron.
Yeah, so I've got this error in my code that I just can't figure out, and I literally just away.
Let's see it. Was it the one you posted in the chat? Card.faceCard is not iterable.
That's correct.
Yeah, do you want to share your screen? Let me stop my sharing. First thing, when I hear card.faceCard is not iterable usually means you try to iterate over it and you can't do that. Basically, you try to loop over it, but it's not an array. Is probably what it's saying. You want to share your screen though? Let's see. Yeah, let's see. Let's see.
I think
trying to understand what errors mean is impossible without help until you learn what those errors mean.
Okay, so
let's see.
Where is this?
Yes, so it is mad at you at line 23.
Yep.
So line 23, for let face of card.faceCard. So class card suit equals face card equals that is, wait, let's see. So I'm trying to remember. Right now, you're making suit and face card just inside that class card.
So here I started with the class cards. I did just suit and face because that's how they're made, and I listed it from spade to diamond, which is the correct listing of ranking the cards.
Yes. What I'm wondering is I don't think that you can put, well, let me see. I don't think that you can put properties on a class that way in JavaScript. Let's see. That's what I'm wondering, is if you can put static things on a class in that way.
You have to add the word
Um,
static
Do you have to add the word static?
right before the declaration, yeah.
Uh,
For suit and faith
yes.
card.
Line 4 and line 5, you have to add static before that if you're gonna use that.
I had that there because I had to Google and not steal code, but trying to figure out some things. It told me that was an error when I put that there.
It may be that's a newer feature of JavaScript. It may be that it's mad at using a newer feature. Let's see. Let's see. What do we got here? Iterator is not defined at new deck. So now it's mad at line 25. This start cards are iterator plus plus. We do not have a variable called iterator, so we cannot increment it if it does not exist. It looks like you meant I. On line 22, you make a variable I. It looks like maybe you meant I there.
Yes, I probably, and that's where, okay.
Yeah, let's see. Okay,
There's a couple times where I'll type something and then I'll add something else because I hit something, and that
yeah.
Okay.
Also on line 25, it looks like it did face card when you meant it to do face. See how on line 23, face is like grayed out because you weren't using it? I think you mean to do face there, not face card, because I don't think there is a variable called face card available right there.
And I just do it up here.
That is a parameter on the constructor function, so it will not be available outside of the constructor.
Okay.
But I think what you want is that face variable so that you can make one for each face and each suit.
Yes.
That's what I'm thinking that you want. Do you want to save it and then refresh in the browser? So now we got line 97. Let's go to line 97. 97, start game. Scroll up. Do you have one called start game? Play game. Looks like it's called play game, so change that to play game.
Yeah, I was up like really late working on this, so yeah.
Yeah, no, this is exactly what I do all day. This is what you do as a programmer over and over again. This is what experienced programmers do. You're like, oh yeah, I called it play game. And then you just go and you fix the next one, you fix the next one, you fix. This is what professional developers do.
Yeah.
Card play one.show card is not a function. Yes, let's go look at that. If you don't like all of these hitting you, what does help is to write less code at once and then get that bit working and then add on to it. That way you don't just get lines and lines of these. But this works as well. Card played one.show card is not a function, so that's line 66.
Here.
Let's see. Card played one.show card. Card played one equals player one.hand.pop. Player one.hand, where does that get filled? Player one.hand.push deck.cards I. So I'm trying to follow backwards and find what is in card played one. That way I know why it does or doesn't have a show card method. So I'm seeing that card played one gets made on line 63 and is given something popped out of player one.hand. So then I go look at line 55 and I see that player one.hand is getting pushed into it, an item from deck.cards. So scroll up, let's figure out what deck.cards has. Deck equals new deck. So show me the deck class. Okay, when we make a new deck, this .cards is an empty array, and then we push a bunch of card objects into it. So go to the card class. Does the card class have a show card? No, it does not. It does have a flip card. Did you mean to do flip card instead of show card?
I'm not sure.
You could rename that to show card. Maybe
Yeah.
I'll fix it. So this is how we do it, where we sort of follow back, figure out what's in there, figure out what things should be named, and slowly but surely try to, oh, look, that fixed that one. Cannot read properties of an undefined reading index of. Now we're at line 69. Let's go look. Y'all, I could do this all day. This is my favorite thing in the world. 69. I'm so fun at parties. Oh my gosh. I'm just like, do you have fun? So card.face.index of. Card.face. So we're trying to scroll back up to our card class. card.face card. So it looks like on line 5 you called it face card. We just need to change that to be face card.
Okay.
Line 69 and 70, we need to make that match card.face card. This is the stuff that we do over and over again as developers. Over time, you make less of these like smaller errors. Instead, you make bigger, harder to fix errors. So be excited. Yeah, okay, let's see. What do we got now? Oh, look at that.
Oh my God.
Look at that. It's running. It is running, baby. That looks really cool. Woo!
You fixed it in like 5 minutes and I spent like 6 hours. I literally spent all day Saturday and I said, I'm done with this crap.
Yes. No, yeah, that's super normal. You're doing all the right stuff. The reason why I can fix it fast is because I've spent thousands of hours doing that. And when you've spent thousands of hours doing that, you get faster at it. You will unfortunately get faster at it as well.
Thank you. And I know Heather's been dying because we dominated this time. She's been dying to have someone help her fix her. She's saying no now? No?
No?
She was
You
the
have
first
to let
one
me
to
help
ask
you.
the question.
It's so painful.
What's up, Beth?
You should help Cassidy first. It's just that, like, I suck. I suck. It's
I do
so
too. I do too. You want to, I Googled
Good.
everything. Okay. Like everything. I feel bad because I feel like I'm cheating, looking at
I
someone
feel
else's
like
code.
cheating.
But let me tell you,
I ask like everybody under the sun that knows how to, and I'm like, help me. And then they do. And then I'm like, am I doing this on my, like, am I the one that's doing this? And they're like, yeah, because you're learning stuff. And I am, but I've like hopped around. I feel like I don't know how to use like VS Code, to be like completely honest, because it's like, and I was using like HackMD for a couple. There was some guy that was like, why would you use that? And I'm like, because the program suggested it. And then they were like, well, you should use this. And I was like, that is kind of cool. And then I was like, no, but I joined this program to learn these things. And like, this is the superior one. And it's just like,
dude, if you go out there,
how am I this far along in the program learning all of this other stuff and still like have trouble like running the code? You know what I mean? It's like embarrassing.
Whoa, this far along,
Makes me
you
feel
are
like
6 weeks in. You are 6 weeks in. 6 weeks ago, you didn't know what a variable was, right? Like 6 weeks is so little time. Like I am 15 years in. How many weeks is that? I don't know. A lot of freaking weeks. So you are little babies, and you're beautiful little babies. And also, what you may not realize is that there's babies all over working jobs right now. Like, you guys overestimate how much people know in developer jobs. Like, there's babies writing the code for the apps that you're using right now, and they're just hacking it away, making it just barely work, barely not broken. Y'all are doing amazing.
I feel like it broke my brain a little bit. Is that like normal? Because like there's other programs that I was looking at where they were like, you'll have a nervous breakdown. And I was like, well, that's great, because I'm like trying to not have a nervous breakdown just with my own life. You know what I mean? So like maybe, and then it's like this one where people are like, it's more digestible. And then the other day I was like, man, I've really been like doing this whole like walking uphill to school both way, you know what I mean? In the snow, just like ridiculous kind of thing. Like it like broke my head a little bit, where I got like real sad and it's all fucked up. And I'm just like, geez, Heather, like you should get help.
I mean, you were so normal, so normal. I've taught this class, I don't know, like 7 times now. I don't even know, maybe 10. Every time, everybody is like, my brain is breaking. This doesn't make sense. Should I be doing this? I don't think I should be doing this. I'm not even sure that I did that. What I just did, I don't even think I did that. I just asked for help and Googled it every step. And I'm like, yes, yes, you're doing all the right stuff. You're in the right place. How you feel is the right things that you're feeling. This just is how it feels, which sucks. But
Heather, you're literally voicing everything that I'm feeling, and I'm really grateful for it.
Yeah, me too.
Yes.
Well, good, because I'm just like, that's so stupid. I'm just like, why isn't anything? Because I'm like writing stuff into my terminal and stuff like that. And then it's like not, it's like the output's like not coming out and stuff. And I'm like, did I like do this? And it's, I know part of it's because I like hopped around and stuff, you know, or like was Zooming with people and stuff and me being like, I'm having trouble. And then they're like, it's okay. Like, here, like send it over to me. And like, oh, they're, you know, and we're like working together and stuff. But then I'm just like, I'm like way too into this to be like having like this basic, like, I don't know how to use a computer.
That's so normal.
Kind of
That's
question.
so normal.
And then I'm like,
So,
what am I
so, so
doing? And then
normal.
I'm like, what if this doesn't work and stuff like that? And what if I'm
Dude.
just
Dude,
slow?
here, if I can say something,
Kind
here,
of
here
slow.
is what you are feeling right now, that so many of you are feeling right now, is the right stuff. Not that I want you to feel that way, but that means you are doing the right stuff. What will keep you from being a developer is not that you feel that way. It is deciding you don't want to feel that way anymore, which fair enough. But giving up is what keeps people from being a developer, not struggling. Struggling makes you a developer. Giving up is the only way to not become a developer. You just have to keep struggling. So fair enough if you decide, no, thank you, not for me.
How do you,
Fair.
well, no, but it has to be, because what the fuck else am I doing? You know what I mean? Like it's a thing that I feel like but how do you not like have like a nervous breakdown or something like that?
I mean, people do.
Gosh,
People,
it's
I literally was staring at my computer last week and I cried for 3 hours, Heather, just staring at my computer screen.
It's like that. I
didn't know what to do.
Called the number on the back of my insurance card and was like, okay, so like in 2020, you were like, because at that point I was like, I think that I want to do this boot camp, but I might like have ADHD, and my parents always never wanted to get me, you know, and they were like, well, you could like look into that, but like and at the time, you know, mid-pandemic, I definitely was like sad, and they were like, you could take Zoloft and stuff, which I didn't. And then so then I went back and I was like, okay, you guys wanted me to take an antidepressant, and like I hear that Wellbutrin is good for ADHD, and like you guys don't want to test me. And now they're like, oh, we could like get you on the list for testing, and maybe you shouldn't take an antidepressant if you think. And I'm just like, man, but it's like sad, you know what I mean? I'm like struggling super hard, and I'm like, I don't have, people will be like, come do this thing, and I'm like, no, like I have my future ahead of me. And then I'm just like sad, and I'm like, what the, like what? That's emotional too. And this is gonna be on the playback. It's great. Everybody's gonna be like, oh look, Heather's like unstable, so it's great.
Heather,
like,
you are amazing. You are amazing. Everything you just said, I'm like, yeah, we've all been there. I think like it's so tough, and this class, it sucks. I love teaching it. I'm having a great time, but
Is it
like,
normal?
it does
Understood.
Is it normal to get through the class? Is it normal to like get through this course and like still have no idea what you're doing? Like, does that happen to some people?
It's normal to feel like you have no idea what you're doing.
Okay.
It's normal to feel like you have no idea what you're doing all the way up through you're like 3 years into your job.
Oh, okay, cool.
Feeling like you have no idea what you're doing is just you feel like you have no idea what you're doing until you just accept that not knowing what you're doing is fine.
Okay, cool.
Suffering from the imposter.
Yeah, the only reason I don't be like, well, I have no idea what I'm doing is because I'm like, well, I'm just used to that. That just is how it is, you know, like you just get cocky. I guess you just get cocky and you're like, well, it hasn't screwed me over yet. So I guess it doesn't matter that I don't know.
How do you become just like cocky and confident, and then people like buy it? Because I know that like LA and stuff, like I lived in California for a little bit, and it was just like everybody was like their own business card, and they were like, I'm the greatest ever, and people believed them, you know what I mean? Like Minnesota doesn't roll like that. They got like gems that are like hidden in their garages, being like, oh, me, you know what I mean? I'm like, how do you get cocky? How do you get
do you guys believe me that I know what I'm doing? Because like, I didn't know what React was like 4 years ago, you know, like I've been teaching for 2 years. And before that, I wasn't doing like nothing, you know, like I'm nobody, I'm nothing. I'm just spewing things, and you all are like, wow, she's so smart. And I'm like,
you know
how
to do stuff. You know how to use VS Code.
and I didn't like a few years ago. Like, and also, how do you get to the point that you're cocky? You just are an imposter for so long that you're like, I guess they're never gonna find out, honestly. At this point.
Is that
I guess
it?
they're never
It's
find
just that they never figure out that you're just like
And also they don't care. People tell
They
you
don't-
enough times that they just don't care. They don't care. A really common thing for people to say when they get to their first job is just to be surprised that nobody cares, that they don't know what they're doing. Like, that nobody is like upset or like, oh no, you shouldn't be in this job. They're just like, yeah, no, yeah, like just keep going. Like, duh, of course you don't know what you're doing. Like, yeah, just like keep Googling and keep trying and keep making broken stuff and then trying to unfix it and then getting help. Just keep doing that. You just keep doing that. Like, and nobody cares. Nobody cares that you don't know stuff. If you can get it done, it's fine. And at your new job, like at your first job, you won't know what you're doing for ages. And you'll be like more of a drag that they'll be paying you money to not make anything for them because you're just trying to figure out how to even make anything for them. And yeah, that is how it is. They'll pay you money and you're like, I've just broken things, I think. And like, yeah, that is what will happen. They expect it to take like 6 months into your first job before you're actually like a net positive instead of a net drag on the team. And that's just normal. But it's worth it because once you start being that net positive, you're freaking useful. And that's why it can be really hard to break in because they're taking a risk on you. They know you don't know what you're doing. And that's fine. They just want to know that in 6 months, you will start to know kind of what you're doing, or at least you'll be able to figure out what to do as you go and stuff like that. So I think what makes this class so hard is that that's not how other jobs are, right? That's not how other classes are. That's not how other jobs are. And so you're stressed because everything is telling you, you should not be this confused. You know, when you take another class in school, you're not this confused, right? When you're doing another job, you know what you're doing, you know, or you get trained in a week and then you know exactly what to do. And that's just not how developer jobs work.
It's
That's just
weird
not how they
because it's
work.
like I've also been like talking to people that took like different boot camps, but it seems like it should be like similar enough, or that they're like a mentor for another boot camp and things like that. And I'm like, how do you do this? And they're like, well, maybe something that's not doesn't fix the problem. And then they're like, well, you got this. And I'm just like, I don't know why anybody would think that. Like, why would you think that I got this? Like, I clearly don't, but like, thanks for the compliment. Like, hopefully I don't like completely drown, in the process.
Yeah. I mean,
as long as I get
think
but
people think that like, oh, in order to like hack it in a boot camp and then get a job afterwards, like you gotta be real smart and you gotta learn real fast. And like, no, from watching people who hacks it and like gets through and then gets a job are just people that are willing to be stupid over and over again. People that are willing to feel lost and confused and frustrated for a really long time. And if you're willing to feel that way,
yeah,
you got it.
thanks for
It
being
sucks. I mean,
like, it just sucks.
I mean, fair enough if you don't want to feel that way for a long time. Like it does suck. It's totally fair to decide not worth it. But
no, I want
is
the job. I want the job.
Yeah.
I want to like work remote. I want to be a rock star that can like
Yeah.
what like I'm a super broken shoestring budget, kind of thing. Like I just got
Well,
like
yeah.
a position for like a weekend shift. Part of it was like the mental health thing where I was like, I got to get out of my house and stuff. And like, what if I don't? Because I have
Yeah.
savings for this and stuff like that. But I was like, but what if I don't get the job and stuff? So, but yeah, like they were like, oh, like, have you like last time I saw you was like, months ago and stuff like that. And have you come into this, look, it's like, it's a bar, but they have like music and stuff there. And I was like, dude, like, I am so broke all the time for everything. Like, no, like I don't go out. I don't do anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, developers are not broke. Working at developer companies,
they're not.
developers buy the weirdest crap because they have too much money.
That's what I want. Even the low end people are like, well, the starting's only 60,000. And I'm like, that's great because I've never made 60,000. Perfect. 100,000.
I mean,
like out of my brain. I can't even imagine that. But
like,
I would
there's
say
a
no,
reason
unless
why.
it really
Yeah.
sucks, then maybe I would. But
Yeah. There's a reason why these jobs are like super flexible and they're creative and you get a lot of respect, you know, and
yeah,
they pay super well, but there's so many openings. There's a reason why. And you can learn to, you don't even have to go to college to get these jobs. Like, how can there be this magical, perfect job that you can get? You don't even have to go to college. It's not even that expensive. But it's like a great job. How is that true? Because it sucks to get there. It sucks to get there. You don't pay in money.
but it won't suck
you pay in
forever.
stress. It
Right.
won't suck forever. That is true. You get used to it. And then you're like, and dude, and spending hours debugging something is not that stressful when you're getting paid. You're like, yeah, that's
Right.
fine.
And that would be great, is like, because it just gets in my head where I'm just like, what if
Yeah.
no one's gonna, you know, and then people always talk about like women in the field and stuff like that and people not taking them seriously. And I'm just like, dude, how am I supposed, why would anyone else take me seriously when I'm like sitting here being like, what the fuck am I doing? And why have I like accumulated this knowledge over here, but I don't know like my ABCs? Like, this is so stupid. Like, how, you know, and I
Dude,
just had
I
people
mean,
write children's books for me while I'm like, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. This is like, I got it, you know.
yeah.
Oh my God.
I mean,
I'm dying.
yeah. You just get used to not knowing what you're doing and start to trust that it doesn't matter and that you can figure it out. That you can figure it out sort of no matter what comes in front of you, that you'll figure it out, because struggling and failing over and over again just become the norm, becomes how you do things. You know, like I'm trying to think of like a good example, but like there's lots and lots of things where, you know, like if you're learning a dance, you dance it wrong over and over again until you finally dance it right, you know, like that is how you dance, right? That's how you get there. If you want to be a great artist, you make really crappy art over and over and over again until finally you start to make good art. And that's just how it's done. The fact that when you start making art, it's crappy doesn't mean you can't make good art.
This one matters. This one matters more though, because I like, there was a while that I got into dancing as a hobby, and it is really like painful to like, especially if anybody like records it and then you like look back and you're like, fuck, that was the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
I'm like, so awkward. But at least it's a hobby, you know, like when it's a hobby, I'm
totally.
like, okay, cool. Like, I'm still not a great dancer, you know what I mean? Like, who cares? It doesn't matter. But maybe if I were like a professional or something like that, or like actually like make.
Yeah. I mean, there's not tons of openings for dancing and it pays really well, right?
No, it's just strippers, and it's not like, you know, I mean, it wasn't like that.
we should
Adam had a question for a minute too. Yeah, I know.
We should probably open it up so people can get
I'm
help
always
on there.
like therapy at the end where I'm like, I'm dying, I'm having
I'm here for it. I mean, but I just want to make sure people get help on their stuff.
I do have something to say really quickly. I have a friend, this might make everybody feel a little bit better. I have a friend who has a master's degree from Stanford, and I texted him because he's now a web developer, and he said, oh yeah, no, I really struggled. I took a boot camp and I struggled for like the first few months. So that made me feel a lot better. So I was like, he's like, and he like does like physics, like he's super smart. So I was like, oh, that makes me feel a little bit better.
Yeah. Actually, in fact, sometimes the people who have been very successful in their other careers and did very well in school struggle the most in a boot camp because they're not used to failing over and over again, and it sucks. So you feel stupid. And if you're used to like school being not that hard for you, or your job, you just rock it, you know, if it's been a long time since it's so hard to fail over and over and over again and just feel stupid endlessly, even as you're working so hard. And so sometimes those people are the ones that are like, I can't do it and I'm out, like, because they just don't. Fair enough. I mean, it sucks. Like, but so it is interesting to see that like the people that do well are the people that are like, yeah, you know, failure. I'm here
if I share my screen, will you like tell me what to do and what to type and how to like what the fuck is my problem?
Yes. Yeah. Do you got some errors? Let me see. Let me help.
Dude, it's just like I don't know how to do it. I just don't know how to do it. That's all. you know, here I
take
am.
another shot.
Do it. Shot.
I'm playing a drinking game during class.
I know. That's like every time Heather asks a stupid question.
Anytime someone has a
We're
nervous
only
breakdown,
2 in
take a
though.
shot.
It's not bad. You know what I mean? Like, fuck. So it's like, I thought, because it's like, why isn't anything coming out in the output? Where did the terminal go? Because then I met up with this girl that does like mostly HTML.
Yes.
Like, what is
so go to your, what file is that? That is that your test.js?
Yeah, and this
go to
is
your test.js.
Yeah, my test. No, this is the War.js.
Oh, okay, but like that error, go over to problems again. Go over to problems. Oh no, where was it? Go to, something was mad. There was an error and I was trying to see what it was.
There was so much stuff because she was like going here and then I thought I was supposed to like download
yes
something.
That is from war.js. So you just did a different syntax that we're not using in this week. So if you go to your, go to the top of your war.js. Like scroll up to the very top of war.js.
Okay.
Where is that coming from? Oh, line 97. Wait, go scroll down to 97.
Nobody knows. This is what happens when I get like too much help.
Okay, scroll up. Oh, okay. We don't want to do import expect from chai. That's a syntax we'll use later, but we can't use that syntax right now. Instead, we're gonna do what is it? I think it's const expect equals. Wait, let me find the line. This const expect equals chai.expect. So const expect, no curly brackets. We're just gonna make a variable called expect, and we're gonna set it equal to chai.expect, no quotation marks. So you can get rid of the rest of that line, like all of that gone. Get rid of all that. There we go. Equals chai.expect. We can't use that other syntax. We have to do this just to pull it in, because of how we have our things set up. But oh, look at that. Okay, so excuse me, have you run this in the browser, your war game? Like, do you have an HTML file that runs this in the browser?
I know that I do, and I feel confused about.
So how about you make an HTML file in your week 6 folder? Is that what we're talking about right now, your week 6 stuff? Yeah. So it looks like in your week 6 folder that you don't have an HTML file. So let's make an HTML file.
Okay.
Inside of week 6, let's make an HTML file. You can just call it war.html, not a folder, a file.
I'm done.
You have to like click out of that. No, it's totally fine. Click out of because it's like sort of, there we go. Yeah. Make a file.
How do I make
sure
another
it's
file?
in week 6. Click on week 6 again. And make sure you, and then click the plus and the piece of paper.
Okay.
There we go. Let's make week 6.html or war.html, whatever you want to call it.
Okay. Week 6.
Heather, can you full screen your DSP here so it's on the full screen?
Yeah.
Does Mac do that? Can you full screen in Mac?
Probably. Maybe not. It's like, and that's another thing too, right? It was like when I was looking at boot camps, people were like, Macs are the best. And then now I'm like, I don't know how to do nothing. I don't know how to do.
Okay, so in your HTML file, let's just hit that that exclamation mark and fill in our HTML right here. So let's just hit the exclamation mark.
Where's my exclamation mark? I'm sorry, I'm stupid.
Oh, like on your keyboard, like type in an exclamation mark.
Okay.
Sorry. There we go. Now hit that that guy. Boop. Perfect. Fills it in. And then on line 10, we just want to import our JavaScript file. So let's do a script tag. So we do Pac-Man mouth. Or you can do that Emmet abbreviation. That would work. Type in script, and then you can hit the Emmet abbreviation. See that top one? Hit that.
Yeah.
Perfect. Now we are going to, right after the T of the first script, we're going to put a space. So
before the caret?
Before the caret, yes. Space source equals src equals. Sorry, src equals. And then in quotation marks, we're gonna put war.js. So now we've got an HTML file that is pulling in your war JavaScript file. Now we need to open this up in the browser. So down at the bottom of your screen.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, what?
No, this is just great. Thank you for helping me with this. And I'm sorry
Yes,
that
I love this. I could truly do this all day. This is my favorite. Okay, where it says port 5500, we're just gonna kill what your live server is doing right now. So let's kill that. And then let's do go live again.
Go live
Go
again.
down there, let's do go live.
Boom.
So we can open up Week 6. Look at that, beautiful. Now let's open up your console. So we can do right.
And was that command option? Oh wait, what'd you say?
Control Shift I might work. F12 might work. Oh, there you go. That worked. Perfect. Yes. So
I know something, not a lot.
Let's see. It's mad at line 97. So here's the issue. Go into your war.js. It looks like your testing code is in with your war code, and we need to put them in separate files. Go to war.js.
Go to war.js.
Yeah, let's open that up. So let's cut lines 94 down. So select lines 94 all the way down, and let's cut all that out of there. That needs to go in its own JavaScript file. So let's do cut on that. It looks like you might have accidentally deleted it. You Control Z.
Okay. Control Z.
There we go. Do like Control X to cut it. Go Control X to cut it. Awesome. Now we're going to make a new file. So inside Week 6, let's hit the new file button. Perfect. Not folder file. There we go. Yep. Oh, maybe you already have it actually. Let's go to your test.js. See where you have test.js? You might already have it. Awesome. Oh yeah, do you already have that in here? Oh, let's delete everything in. Oh no, you clicked on war. Go to test.js. That one. There we go. Let's take everything that's in there out of there. Do you want to close your find menu right there? You see where it says find? We can click the X over there and get that out of our way. There we go. Okay. Paste everything in there. So do Control V to paste it.
Wow, you're saving my whole life. Whoops.
Dang it. Okay, delete that. Go back to your war.js.
I didn't do it.
Go back to war.js.
You're right. Okay. 90.
Okay. Do Control Z to get back what you cut. So go scroll back down, do Control Z. Control Z to undo. Is it Command Z on Mac? Sorry.
Yeah, and I'm doing that, but it doesn't seem to want
to. Oh, click in there and do. There we go. Okay. Now cut it again.
Okay. Control
X. Cut it again. Now go to your test.js. There we go, and paste it in there. We need our testing code. What did you say?
You're so nice. It's really nice.
Oh. I'm having a good time.
Like saving my whole life. I've been like,
yes. So we need our testing code separate from our war code, because our testing code will only work in the context of all the crazy like importing chai and all that stuff. So we need a separate test HTML file. Let's make that test HTML file. So make a new file and call it test.html. And I am going to send this to you. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, and now let's see if I can just drop this in the chat. Let's see if this works. We're gonna try it. I'm gonna drop this in the chat. Go into the Zoom chat and just copy the big mess of crap I just pasted in there, and then come paste it in yours. Let's see if that works. We're gonna try it.
Where is the chat in?
Oh, you might need to stop sharing. Let me stop your sharing for a second.
Okay.
Go to Zoom. You see chat. I can also send it to you on Slack. That's another good option.
Did I undo it? Am I still sharing or not? How do I stop sharing?
You are not sharing. I stopped your sharing.
Perfect. And it's in the chat.
Did you find it?
Ooh.
Just select that whole crazy thing.
And then go back and do it.
And paste it in your HTML file. You want to share your screen again?
Yeah. Let me grab this. This is such a relief. I'm like,
dude, I'm here. I'm here to help. That's all I want to do.
it's just like embarrassing because I'm like, I don't know.
No, why? Why would you?
It's like I
If
need
you
like
already
a
knew how. If
precursor.
you already knew how to do all this stuff, then why would you take this class?
I know.
This,
Some
like,
people know.
why would you pay a bunch of money for something that's not even hard? You can just learn it on your own. Why would
You know,
do
and
that?
it's funny because people will say that like, oh yeah, you
Hey,
can
look at that.
do this on your own. Okay, so then I
You
need
can
to
if you're crazy. Okay,
I'm
so
just like
paste
I
it.
got like programming hub like app and stuff like that, and it's like, and granted, I do feel like HTML and CSS like are more familiar because of that kind of thing, but I'm like, dude, there's no way that I would learn how to
Yeah,
code.
totally. So
that.
paste it into your HTML file.
Mhm.
All that crap I gave you. Perfect. Beautiful. And
Yay.
now on line 20, where it says teams.js, replace that with yours, which is called war.js.
And it's normal that like you just sent me this whole code and I don't know.
Oh, yeah. You don't need to understand this file at all.
Oh, shoot. Hold on.
Oh, you pasted it again. Do Control Z or Command Z.
Did I undo it? Did I not?
Command Z, dude. Hit Command Z. There you go. Okay. Type in war.js. Awesome. And then where mine says teams.test.js, put in test.js. So get rid of the teams dot. Yours is just called test.js. Now we're pulling in your Word files, we're pulling in your test code, and now it should be all set up there. So that is looking good. We could check out this one. Do you want to kill it on your port 5500 again and take this page live instead? So down there it says port 5500. Kill it and take it live again.
What is this little thing you do? What's that? Oh, okay.
Hey, look at that. So now it's running your testing code. It is not working compared to is unhappy, which we can figure out why it's not working. But this is good. That's how you run your testing code.
That's good because a second ago.
Yeah. Do you let's see if we can get your test running. That'll be a fun thing to look at first. Go to your Visual Studio Code. Okay. So let's go into your war.js. Scroll up. Let's find your card class. Okay, here's your card class, and it has a compare to method on it that compares. If the star rank is greater than the other card rank, return 1. If the star rank is less than other card rank, return -1, else return 0. I love it. So go to your test.js. So you're making some cards, king, queen, king. And then you're expecting card 1 not to compare to card 2 to equal 1, to equal -1, to equal 0. What I'm wondering if it's happening is that it's trying to compare K and Q, and K and Q are not numbers. So typically what we do is just make
string format.
So it's going to try to compare those strings like they're numbers, and K is going to be less than Q because Q is later in the alphabet. So it's going to do weird things. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, I don't really know how to fix it, but it makes sense, right?
Here's the easy way to fix it. You don't have to do K, Q, J. You can just make those numbers. So make J 11, Queen 12, and King 13. So instead of K, put 13.
Here?
Yeah, not a string, the number 13.
Okay. So this one's 13. And underneath it would be 12, and then
not a string.
Ooh, you're right.
I took out the little string things.
Totally said that too.
That's what I'm here for. Yeah, and then that one can be what is it?
Nice about this kind of thing because it's like, man,
you
notice that like a lot of people don't have any patience.
That one should be 13, I think, because that one was a king, right?
Ooh, yeah. Oh, you're right.
I think that one's 13 too. Okay, save that. Now let's look at your tests back in the browser. So go back in the browser. Look at that, your test passes.
Yay! Look at that.
We did it. Beautiful. So you're going to need to make sure then in your actual code that you are using numbers instead of Jack, Queen, King.
Okay.
If you want your compare to method to work correctly. Let's close out of this one. Let's kill. So now your tests are working. Done with testing part. Done, perfect. Nothing else to look at there. Now we can just go look at our war.js.
When I hand this in, it's just gonna be this part, right? Do I have to like also turn in like the test? Am I pushing all of that? Am I pushing
I think
all
you need
of
to turn in the test.js as well.
Okay.
I think you're pushing all of this up to a repository, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's gonna have all the files.
But I just wanted it to like be working, and I was just like, man, like I could like try to. I just didn't want to hand it in because I like some of this stuff where I'm like, oh, it's not like as in depth or something, but I like get what my problems are. I'm like more okay like handing that kind of thing in, but and it's stupid because I'm like, just like any schooling, right? Like the later it is, the more stupid points that you're like losing and your grade goes. But then I'm like, it doesn't even matter. My grades are good. I don't know how to code, like at the end of it, like that's
exactly. Yes. So let's, now that we're done with the testing portion, we don't need that testing HTML open anymore. Instead, we need our week 6 HTML open. So go back to week 6.html.
Week 6.
Down the very bottom, there's one called week 6.html. Open that up. And let's close our port 5500 again and take this one live instead. We got a bunch of dead tabs, but we'll just ignore those little tabs. So go live.
I don't close anything ever in my whole life.
Let's do go live on that one. So click go live down there.
Bad practice.
Now it's going to open up your actual thing. Let's open up the console again. I have an old tab like that, but whatever. Let's open up the console here. Command Shift I. Does that do it?
It's like Command Option J. It's weird.
Oh, wow. Okay. So
look at that.
Look at that. It's running. You're not getting any errors. Player 1 score was 10. Player 2 score was 16. So player 2 wins. It might be good now. I don't know. Your code might be running perfectly now.
I just
go to your war.js. Let me just look over it.
That's fucking crazy. I mean, and I had a lot of people helping me for
sure. Go to your war.js. War.js. There you go. Yeah, scroll down.
It's not like normal to like not know what, and I was getting like syntax errors and stuff for a long time, but it's just like I just feel like it's just stupid. It's like, how do I not know? Like, was I not listening or something?
I mean, there's 1 million things.
Not like I know that like my brain is not work like everybody else's, and it's hard because it's like I just feel like I'm on the struggle bus and people are like, but you're smart. And I'm like, man, but I'm like,
I mean, smart doesn't matter. Computers are evil and they will hurt everyone. It doesn't matter. Smart is not relevant. What's relevant is how long are you willing to feel stupid? How much time do you put in? And what was your brain good at before? How much turning does it have to do to now be good at this? That's all that matters here. And your brain might have to turn a lot. You might not be able to put in as much time, and you might not like feeling stupid. And it's hard. I don't think anybody likes feeling stupid, but yeah, your code's looking good. I'm not like looking at super deep, but that looks good to me. I think you're done.
I definitely asked like a bunch of people, and clearly, people that are like using different. Is this a server? What's VS Code, right? Like they're using other
code editor.
Yeah, fuck, dude. I don't know.
Yeah. So it looks like you have a lot of like extra files it looks like you have a lot of extra files that you might want to clean up. Like you have one called week 6 war, like that one called war right there.
Yeah, I don't need that.
Yeah, delete that one.
I was doing that. Oh wait. I was doing that. Just trying to figure, I don't know. It's because I don't know.
Yeah, and the one's called like uppercase war and stuff like that. But that looks like the stuff. It looks like you're done. You just need to push the week 6.html folder, or sorry, the week 6, not .html, the week 6 folder. You need to push that to that one you can delete. You need to push that one to GitHub.
The week 6.
Have you made? Yeah. So what I would do, and what you generally want to do, is open up only that folder in VS Code. when you're working on stuff, rather than opening up something that has a lot of things open at once. You open up just that one folder and get that set up in GitHub, post it in GitHub, get it pushed up to GitHub, and you should be done.
That's amazing. Is it normal to feel like and I went and rewatched the videos as far as like working out of terminal. I met up with this girl. I don't know like how much she knows or doesn't know and stuff like that, but she's like trying to like teach this boot camp on HTML and stuff. And she was really like, oh, you just figure out what's going wrong using terminal. And I was like, I'm so not good at terminal and like what the heck are you talking about? And it was like stressful because she was making some like basic stuff and things like that and was kind of like distracted. And I have like a heart. Thank you so much for like walking me through it. Like I need someone.
It seems like
my hand.
Yeah, it seems like you might have been seeing or getting help from people that are working from different contexts, and there's a million different ways to program in a lot of different contexts. And it's just better if you can stick to this one context, because the others aren't better, they're just different, and then you can get confused trying to like.
And I just got to get better at the study group part or something like that, because it is really nice that people are like willing. Yeah, you're like, that's what everyone's.
Yeah, totally. Totally. I mean, I think you're doing the right stuff. You just gotta just keep going. You just keep going. Just keep going. Keep working at it. I think is generally.
So that information that you sent in the link, is that something that I should like save in general so that I have like the outline?
In the HTML file that you put in the HTML file?
Yeah, because I'm like,
well, now you got it in
like
that.
I probably should have done that for like other things as well too, right? Or is it like set now or something? Because I was so like
if you ever use Mocha and Chai again, that's kind of helpful to have that file. But now you have that file. It's going to be in your repository, so you could always just look it up next time you need it. Okay. It's also in the code it's also in the code that I shared from last week. So
okay.
Adam, how can I help?
It's kind of reassuring to like know that frustration is kind of like just part of the day-to-day operations, right? But if you're aware of this much frustration, how come there isn't any like any type of ambition to try and like delete the hurdles or the choke nuts or the bottlenecks, right? Like, I mean, literally what I'm doing is I'm going to Chat GPT and I'm asking them every time I like have a problem, like, can you give me 20 practice problems to solve on my own for whatever I'm trying to do, right? And I'm talking to that stupid AI like it's an actual human person. And it's helping me quite a bit because I wouldn't be able to even find that stuff on Google, right?
Nice. There is so many people trying to make programming easier all the time. And teaching programming is incredibly difficult, and people are always trying to work at making it easier. AI is not really the way that they're going on that because it's just really complex concepts, and it's really hard for AI to do that. It's really hard for AI to give good stuff there. In terms of like making programming easier, it is easier than it used to be. It is. It has gotten easier. React is freaking amazing. And things like React are how things have gotten easier. Some of the stuff, see you, Rosie. Some of the stuff that you all are using, it didn't used to be this easy. It used to be harder. At the same time, though, the code that we write these days is more complex because the demand for software that's more complex, right? Games 20 years ago were very simple. Games now are very complex. So it has gotten easier to program, but as it's gotten easier to program, that means that we can make more complex things. So it has gotten harder to program at the same time that it's gotten easier to program. So it just sort of keeps going in that way. The problem with AI is that it can tell you things that it's already seen. It can't tell you things it hasn't seen. And there's just not a lot of demand for people to write code that's already been written. There's demand for people to write code that hasn't been written. So while you're learning, sure, sometimes like an AI can tell you things because it can recycle things it's seen from other learning things. But as you move on, AI will fall far below what it can be helpful to you because you're writing things that haven't been written before.
Sure,
And,
I'm not
if an AI could
suggesting.
do it, if an AI could do it, then they would not hire you.
Sure, and I'm
But,
not suggesting to like use AI completely. I'm just using AI like today, like I was doing logic operators and that type of thing. I'm like, can you give me 50 practice problems? And then it gave me 50 practice problems,
nice.
and I'm like, all right,
Great.
can you grade them or check them? And it checked, and it was like, well, you got 38 out of 50 correct. You should have done this. And I was like, well, that's perfect, right?
Yeah, that's a good one where it's like very small scope. That's something like AI could generate for you. Yeah, I'm not sure what your question was beyond like why isn't it easier? And like, yeah, because it can't be. We're trying all the time to make it
Okay.
easier. Very, very smart people are working all the time trying to make programming easier and learning programming easier, and it just is hard. But if I could snap my fingers and it was easy, guess what? The pay for it would drop because if it was easy, they wouldn't pay you so much. So,
Sure.
if it was easy, you probably wouldn't be in this boot camp because you wouldn't be wanting the job because it would pay 20,000 a year if it was easy. So, I don't know. To some degree, it's just kind of an intractable problem that has seemed to always exist. That programming is hard and we need a lot of it, and so it pays well and is hiring a lot. Ruby.
So I'm really tempted to just turn in my HTML thing and call it a
Do
day
it!
because I'm like done. I'm done with this. I've done like 4 different ones and I'm like, I can't get this logic to work. So,
Dude, I loved your HTML one. I don't know why they wouldn't accept that, but I mean, I don't know. But do you want me to help with anything?
sure. I'm having issues with the unit test too. It's not letting
Yes.
me at all.
Yes, let me
like,
help with that.
here.
That I know you do have to have some unit testing stuff. That is important. You want to share your screen?
Yeah, let me see. Hold on. Let me move this to this other screen. So many tabs open. It's I don't know. I don't know. I'm kind of on a coffee low.
You gotta take shots of cough medicine. It's the only way.
I know. Mom just gave me some tea, and I'm like, I can't with this tea right now. So
Mom tea.
I made
Okay.
this one, and then I made this one, like, because it was not very good for
sorry.
me the weekend, but
Sorry, it was wigging out for a second. So you are saying your unit tests weren't working.
yes.
Is that right?
Yes. Let me
So
go to
unit test.js. So here's your unit test. Should have 2 card parameters. Okay. We can't check parameters.
Okay.
We can only check what things sort of spit back out.
Okay. That makes sense.
So what X will be is what the war function returns.
Okay.
And we can't like ask if it equals 2 things. We can only ask if it equals 1 thing. But also to run this, you're going to need an HTML file for running your what's unit test code.js? Is that something different? Click on that one. Oh, that's just another one. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh. So you want your unit test to not be testing that code. You want your unit test to be testing the code that you're actually using in your war game.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Go into like basic war.js or something.
Here.
Yeah, scroll up. Let's see. Like, show me one of your classes. Do you have any classes? No. You have add players. Ooh, wait. Ooh, okay.
Yeah, this is
like. Oh yeah, you've been kind of working. It looks like this isn't attached to any class. Wait, scroll up. Is it?
I don't think so.
Yeah,
I think this is the second time I did it.
Oh, okay. Because we can't like do this dot players if we're not inside some kind of class, right? We can't be working with properties if we're not in a class. But maybe do you have any classes anywhere?
Let me see. I'm trying to think if I did any in here. maybe not in here. I
Wait,
wonder if
wait,
I
let me
sh-
see.
This one's different. This one I was kind of like, see if maybe redoing it again would help you type of deal. So I was like,
Yeah, so it looks like maybe the way you've set things up,
terrible.
it's very hard to unit test it because none of your pieces work on their own. They're all tied into each other, which makes it very hard to unit test that.
Okay.
Like for example, build deck
Yeah, I
looks
have
like, oh
to
wait,
redo
let's see.
that.
Wait, shuffle deck? Like shuffle deck is working off the deck variable. It's not like a function that you could call all on its lonesome because it's connected into other pieces. Scroll down. Let me just see if I can find one that's like gonna work on its own. Scroll down. Yeah, none of those pieces are like unit testable. That
Okay.
might be a reason why that they wouldn't love your code. You kind of haven't followed the structure of like making these classes and then having chunks of these classes be able to be testable on their own
Okay.
without like a little chunk that you can test all by itself that's not using any global variables. It's hard to test your code. It's hard to test. It's hard to unit test code that only goes into the HTML that doesn't. We want a function that doesn't use any global variables. That's something then we could unit test. If you don't have any functions that don't use any global variables, it's really hard to unit test them. For example, Heather had a method on her card class that would check if one card was higher than another. If you made a little function somewhere, you could pull some logic out into a little function that checks if one card is higher than another. Then you could unit test that chunk of code because it would work all on its own. It doesn't use any global variables. It just takes in parameters, gives an output, and then you can check it. Well, what if I give it these parameters? Does it give it the right output? What about these parameters? Does it give the right output? We can check it if we can like use it on its own. Does that make sense?
Yeah. That makes
So
sense.
what you could do then is find a chunk in your code that you could pull out that uses no global variables, that just takes in a parameter, spits out an output, and then write some tests for that chunk is what I would say.
Okay. Sounds good.
That
Because
makes
I was
sense?
like, yeah. So I was like, should I don't know. Like, I don't know if I should test on HTML. I don't know. I was
You
like, I
can't,
should just
with what we've
ask.
learned so far, you can't test the HTML. You need a piece that doesn't touch HTML, that doesn't use global variables, that's just its own little chunk. What I think with where we're at right now is keep your HTML version, turn that thing in, but find a chunk that you can pull out into its own function so that you can unit test it. Because I know that's an important part of that week's material.
Sounds
That's
good.
what I would recommend. You could also talk to a mentor, like, because you got really cool code here. Like, you shouldn't have to write a new thing. This is awesome. But we do need a chunk for unit testing. So you got to like find something here. Wait 1 second. Because it seems to be value for each. I'm just trying to see if there's a good build deck you might be able to do. It's hard because it all works off global variables. If you could change build deck to not work off global variables, like rather than working off the global deck variable, have it return the deck and then put it into the deck variable. Something like that would allow you to unit test it.
Okay. So like returning the deck right here and then pushing it.
No,
like...
so after line 138, returning the deck. So go to the end of line 138, enter down. If we returned the deck, and if go to the end of line 122 and enter down.
Here?
Yep. And now make a variable deck that's like an empty array. And now where are you calling this function? Show me where you're calling it.
I need to look. I have.
You do find if you want help finding where you're calling it. Wait, scroll up.
Where am I calling it? Maybe this is up here.
Oh, there it is. So on line 21, do deck equals build deck.
Okay.
So on line 21, do deck equals build deck. So now, instead of build deck just changing those global variables, build deck will work all on its own, make a deck, return it, and then we'll put it into your global deck variable. On line
Okay.
18, you'll need to change that to a let instead of a const so that we can change it. But does it make sense, sort of the difference there of like, one was just sort of directly changing that global variable. The other is working off its own little internal variable, returning the deck, and then we put the deck in the global variable.
Yeah.
Now you can unit test that function because it doesn't work off a global variable. We could call it 5 times in a row and it wouldn't mess up. They wouldn't all be working off the same global variable. They would all be making a deck. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Whereas if we called build deck 5 times in a row the old way, it would add 5 times into that deck all the cards, right?
Yeah.
But now each one is making their own little separate so we can unit test it.
Okay.
So now go to unit test.js.
Was this one? No,
The other one, unit test.js.
this one. I'm gonna
There you
delete
go.
this because
Yeah, we don't need that. Perfect. Now let's do on line 4. Let's do like describe build deck. Because let's check. Now we can test that build deck function. Describe build deck.
was it like this? I
Now,
think.
yeah, sure. It doesn't matter. And then on line 5, we can say it should put 52 cards in the deck or whatever. And now we can call that function, grab what comes out, and do an expect against it.
Okay.
So we can say let deck equal build deck. Let deck equal build deck. So now we're going to call that build deck function. This is our arrange and our act in all in one. We're sort of setting things up. We're going to call that and we're going to say, was that what we expected it to be? Did that? So build deck, we're going to call it with parentheses after it.
Oh,
right. Deck equal build deck. Okay, now let's expect deck dot I think you can do it. Let's see.
How do you get the little squares?
Isn't that
it's an extension. I was talking to Matt about it because I was like, I don't know. This gives me the heebie-jeebies just thinking about it. Like I can get nightmares about this. And Matt thought it was funny. And so he's like, yeah, we're gonna get you an extension for this.
He got you to download Blockman, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
I just was so lost. I was like, oh, okay.
So what we're gonna do here, open up your browser.
Do you want me to leave
browser
that like this?
Just leave that right there. We're gonna come back to it in just a second.
Okay.
Go to your browser real quick.
What is it? Does it matter? Does it matter if it's
Doesn't
Chrome?
matter what browser.
Okay.
Doesn't matter what browser.
Let me find.
You can go to, what is that? Edge. You can use Edge.
Okay, cool. I just have to close out of these tabs. And I was looking at Cover's over there. My bad.
Nice. No worries. So let's go to chai.js.com. CHAIJS. Just right there. Not .js, just JS.
Okay.
No space. Chai.js, all one word. Sorry. Chai.js, all one word.com. I know, I'm like yelling out commands at y'all. That doesn't make sense. Okay. Scroll down and stop. So, see that expect box?
Here?
We can see that one of those says expect foo to have length of 3. That would allow us to check if our deck has a particular length. So let's copy that line. Expect foo to have length of 3. Let's just copy that line. Copy that and then go back over here. And now let's replace line 7 with that. So take out line 7. Because that's going to allow us to check if our deck is as long as we want it to. So expect, and then instead of foo, do deck. To have length of, and let's do, what is it? Is it 52 or 50?
52.
52. Do 52.
This should be 52 too.
There we go. Okay. Just get rid of lines 9 through 13. Just throw them out. We don't want them. We don't care.
Okay.
9 through 13. There you go. Take it out. There you go. Okay. All right. Now we need an HTML page that can run our test code. So let's make a test.html page or file.
Okay.
So go into your week 6 final project, and we need to do a new file.
And then unit test, right?
Yeah, whatever you want to call it. Unit test.html, just something. And then you can go into the Zoom chat and copy what I dropped in there and paste it in there.
Okay. Here. Whoa.
You need me to stop your screen sharing?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I will stop your screen sharing so you can find the Zoom chat. It's impossible to find while you're screen sharing.
It formats it so weird. Where did it go? It disappeared on me. I'm low-key scared that they are gonna give me a really bad grade because there's HTML in it. But you know
It would
what?
give you a good grade though.
When in
They might be
Rome,
upset
choose the
that there's
Romans.
no classes. That's what
Okay.
I think. Maybe they won't be thrilled about, but I say, at this point, see what they think.
All right, I got it in here.
Yeah, do you want to share your screen again?
Yeah. Let's see. I mean, I guess I could add a class or try to.
Yeah, I think if you add in one class that you'll get rave reviews. That's what I think. So, okay. Awesome. That is looking great. Change teams.js to extended version war.js or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Whatever. Extended version wargame.js, I think. Okay, extended version wargame.js. And then change teams.test.js to unittest.js. Whatever you call your testing file.
Okay.
See you, Daniel.
Bye.
Okay, so now let's open this with live server. So kill it on port 5500.
Okay, cool.
Open with live server. That'll be great. Perfect.
Where'd it go?
Let's
see
it. I think it opened in Chrome.
Yes. Does it? Hold on a second. Let me move this over. So this is kind of what it says.
See you, Kate. Thank you.
There we go.
Okay, so can I access card data before initialization? That's what I worried about. That is
what does that mean?
The global variable that you were accessing. Okay, go to your extended version war game.
This one? Is it this one? No, it's this one.
Okay. No,
Sorry.
no, there we go. Okay. No worries. So can I access conversation? Scroll up to the top. Card data is just a variable up there, right? So it should be being pulled in before.
Do you want me to make it a class?
Oh, no. Go back to your unit test.html. The very last file. Unit test.html. There we go. You're pulling in extended version war game first, and then you're pulling in unit test. Why are you being so mean about it? Go back to I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to your code. Go back to extended version war game.
That's
Not
what
the
I was
HTML, there you go.
getting.
Scroll down to your build deck function.
Let's see.
Is it being a rude face? Let's see. Function
Here.
build deck. Yeah, so it's mad at this card data.suits thing and card data.value thing. But why is it mad? Because you did declare it up there. So why won't it let you? It's saying when it gets to build deck line 124, it gets mad because it can't access card data before it's been initialized. But card data has been friggin' initialized right up there at the top. So why is it mad? A weird one. Scroll all the way up to the top again. Trying to think. Be would be the mixing in of the HTML stuff. I'm wondering, what if, do you use card data anywhere else but that one function?
Let me see.
You can do Control F and type in card data.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Control F. Card data, yeah. It looks like one place. No, go down. 0, 2, 3. Awesome. Let's move it inside build deck. Then
Okay.
it can't get mad at us. So take card data. I do like where you're putting it up there, but just in the interest of getting this thing friggin' to stop being mean and just work, let's just grab that, cut that, and move that inside the build deck function. So yeah, like right first thing, perfect. Paste that in there. There we go. I don't know why it was mad, probably because of the mixing in of your HTML, but it's only used by build deck. Now build deck doesn't use any global variables. It's completely self-contained, right? It's a function. You could call it 10 times in a row and nothing weird would happen because it's completely self-contained. That's what allows us to unit test it. And now we wrote a unit test and it totally works. Looks awesome. Do you need to have more than one test or is one test good?
I have no idea. Let me see.
Test was good.
Down here somewhere. Where is it? Maybe? This is for the video.
But what I would think is if you make a class for something, put something in a class, and then you've got some unit testing, I would think that you'd be good now.
Okay.
I think then you could turn that thing in. Don't need to make a basic version of nothing. Just get one class in there somewhere.
Okay. Because I was told I had to start from the beginning and I was just like,
yeah, that seems like too much. I mean, again, I do not grade, so I can't guarantee anything because I have no control over grades, but it seems really hard to start from scratch right now. So I would think if you get a class in there somewhere, and you have a unit test that like you've covered the bases, you just have extra. And who's gonna get mad at extra? So get some kind of class in there, and then I think you're good.
okay, sounds good.
I'm gonna stop your sharing. Cassidy. Ooh, my voice wants to go. It is.
So
But it's
now
so
I'm
hard for me.
wondering if I
Yeah.
have the same problem because I don't have any classes, and I'm wondering if my unit
Ooh.
test isn't running because it's got some global
Variables it's using or something. Yeah, let's see.
yes. Yes, so yeah.
It's tragic when someone who likes talking as much as me starts to lose my voice. I love talking. Take that from me. Ooh, look how pretty. Okay. What are we unit testing? That's what will tell us why it's not working.
The shuffle function. So index.js, that's my
okay. Oh, index.js has your testing code. Okay.
Yeah.
Get rid of line 2. We're not going to do things through imports. We're just going to pull all the script tags in. So take that out, take out line 3.
Yeah, I did line 3 just to see like if it was pulling it in.
Yeah. We are totally going to be doing that import stuff once we get to that place. But right now we're just going to have script tags that pull them all into the same HTML file.
Okay.
So it should return array of the same length. Console like deck, that shuffle deck equals shuffle deck. Expect shuffle deck link to equal deck.length. Love it. That looks like a great test right there. So save that file, go to your HTML file. So go to index.html.
Yeah, this
so
I just need to make it smaller because these things are in the way.
Get in the way, yeah. You can like drag and move that thing, but yeah. Okay, awesome. So see, it looks like you were pulling in okay, you're pulling in index.js. Oh, and you're pulling in takeoff type module. We don't want to do type module right now. Let's get that out. There we go. And get rid of the one on line 16 too. Okay, so you're pulling in
We
your
were doing that
JavaScript
to
from
make
your-
that import export work because we were having trouble.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Okay, so go back to your or save that file. And then okay, see now shuffle is showing up. Token export. Go to your week 6 final project.js. We got to get rid of that export. Where we did the export. We are going to do that. We are going to be exporting things, but not yet. Okay. It's just another way to set things up that we will eventually do, but it's not happening right now. So it's showing up. It's just saying that the test
Now I
is
have a
failing.
failure.
Yeah, let's see what it says. What does it say? Type error. Do you want to
Yeah, make that bigger.
make that bigger so we can see that? Yeah. Can I read properties of undefined reading length? Okay. Go back into your test. Let's see. Seems like it's saying on line 9 that shuffle deck. So
Right.
are you positive that shuffle returns something? Show me your shuffle function. Because it seems like it's saying when I try to do what was returned from shuffle.length that I don't get anything. Yeah,
So
it's
this is the
not, it's
shuffle
working
function.
off of, yep, it's
Yeah,
working
and
off
it
of a
works
global
here.
variable. Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's working off of a global variable instead of returning something. All you got to do is line 16,
Uh-huh.
enter down, and let's do return deck. Awesome. And then on line 19, you can do deck equals shuffle deck.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Save that. Let's see how it likes that. Constant assignment to constant variable. You got to make deck a non-constant variable. But look, your test passes.
My test passes.
So scroll up in week 6 final project, find your deck variable and make it a let instead of a const, because now we're overriding it. So in week 6 final project.js, not in your test. Your test's all
Wait.
good. Scroll up in that one, scroll to the top. Line 2,
right here?
make it let deck. Yeah.
Okay.
That way we can reassign the variable.
Okay.
There we go. So now it looks like your test passes and it looks like your code runs.
Hey,
Yeah.
that
You
was
just
not
need to make that-
painful.
Yeah. Just need to pull that function out and make it something that could be run all on its own, that wasn't tied
Yeah.
into other pieces.
Yes.
Test it all
Okay.
on its own. Yeah. This is good stuff. This is the things we have to think about, right? This is it's pulling on your brain, making you think in different ways.
While I gotcha, because
Yeah.
you know, I was thinking about, I did write a class,
Mm-hmm.
and so I wonder, like,
Yeah.
if it worked.
Yeah, you could do that class. Yeah, and then just change your testing code to work off of that class instead of off of just the function on its own. And then you would just like be like const deck equals new deck or whatever. And in week 6 final project, like on line 22, you could just do const deck equals new deck or whatever.
Okay. Like that?
And parentheses after deck. So we're going
Right.
to call the constructor on it. And then we need a space between new and deck. That way we're saying, please call the constructor for this deck class, stamp me out a new deck
Okay.
object. When we
Okay.
stamp out that new deck object, it's going to get all the suits and values pushed into a property called deck. And then it looks like we're going to need to call the shuffle method. So enter down and call deck.shuffle. Now we're saying, love it, love that your deck. I do need you to shuffle. And now we need parentheses to call that method. Okay, please run and actually shuffle. We don't,
Okay.
on line 19, we do not need to return this .deck anymore because it's going to inline change that deck object. It's still self-contained because it's all self-contained in the deck object itself.
Okay.
What this means though is everywhere you say deck now, you have to say deck.deck because deck is now an object that has a property called deck that has
Okay.
the actual cards in it. What you can do
Yeah,
control
capital
F.
deck and lowercase deck.
Well, it's actually going to be lowercase deck.deck because you have now a
Okay.
variable called deck that has a property on it called deck. So do control F. I can make this easy.
Control F.
Do control F.
Oh.
Hit that little arrow next to find. There's a
Yeah.
little drop down arrow right there. We're gonna do a find and replace. Do find deck. Replace with deck.deck. But we don't want to do it everywhere, so we're gonna have to step through. .deck where the deck is lowercase.
Both of them are
Deck,
lowercase.
both of them lowercase because on line
Okay.
4 you call the property lowercase deck. See that on
Okay.
line 4? On line 21 we
Yeah.
made a variable called deck, lowercase deck. That on line 4 gets a property called deck, lowercase deck. So we need to hit, do you see the down? Do you see the down arrow in this thing?
Yeah.
Let's get to one that we actually want to change. Oh, it looks like we are on one we want to change. Do you want to do the little right under the number 13, there's a little replace button. Sorry, in that yeah, you were right at
here.
it. Yep, down right under that 13, you see the little replace button.
That's what
Click
this
on
is.
that.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, replace that one, click it again. You can go to the next one. Let's find one we want to replace. Is that the only places we use it? Oh, I thought there was like 20 places. Well, oh well, that's it. That's the only places you use it.
Oh, okay.
So we're good.
Well, that wasn't
I
too
thought there was like a ton. Well, now you saw that you can use find and replace. So you can click,
Oh,
you can
okay.
X out of that find and replace.
So
We did
not
not
too
need
bad.
it. It was
All right.
yeah. Save that and see if it works. Oh, and also we need to change the unit test. So do you want to go to the test code? Yeah, so now instead of just doing like let deck equal, well, actually you can do that actually. And then on line 7, we need to change that. Let's get rid of line 7. And we need to make a new deck object. So we could do like let deck equal
Well, we already have deck.
Oh yeah, let's do let shuffle deck equal then. And then we're gonna stamp out a new deck object by doing new and then uppercase D deck to reference that class, and parentheses to call the constructor. And then we also need to shuffle it because that's part of what we're testing here, right? So let's go to the next line and call the shuffle method on our shuffle deck object.
Do I need
Enter
a
down.
semicolon?
Nah.
Okay.
Enter down. Now we're gonna go to our shuffle deck object and call the shuffle method on it.
So shuffle deck dot shuffle.
Yep. And then parentheses because we're gonna call it. Is that what that method was called? Yeah, it looks like it is. Okay. Awesome. Now, do you want to save that and run it again? See what we get. Oh, you'll need to on line 10, you'll need to change that to shuffle deck.length. Because on line 10. Because now shuffle deck is an object, so we got to go get that deck property and then get the length of that. Save that and then look at it in your browser again. I think it was in Chrome.
Yeah, it was.
It should be still open in Chrome. All right, it's not happy. Let's see. Expected 52 to, you want to scroll over?
The test failed.
Yeah, do you want to scroll over where it says assertion error? Let's see what it said.
52.
52 to equal
Oh.
4. Ooh.
That's because I have this let deck and I just have 4
Oh, and you
made
just did
up.
like a short one.
Yeah.
Got it. Let's
So-
just get rid of deck then. Get rid of 5 and 6 because we want it to always be 52, right? So let's get rid of 5 and 6. And then on line 10, just do dot 2 equal 52. Because that's what we really want, right? You'll be testing sort of 2 things in one now. So on line 8, spec shuffle deck dot length dot 2 dot equal, and just do 52. So you don't need to check it against another deck anymore.
And you think Code Wars is gonna help make everything make more sense?
Yes, I do think so. I mean, it'll help it all make more sense by having it make less sense. But through the process of finding all the things that make less sense and working on them, things will make more sense.
So now my tests work and there's an error back here.
But there's an error. Let's see. Line 43.
43.
What are we mad at? 43. If values.index of, where did values come from? Oh, did you delete a... Oh, you used to have something that you could check and it had all the values in it. Did you move that? Yes. Take line 5 and 6 and move them out of deck. So line 5 and 6, let's move them up above line 1. That way we can access them from other places. There you go. Cut those. You can like Control X.
They don't
And
need
go
to
up
be
a-
inside. Like it's
No.
okay that they're not inside.
Yeah, it's better that they're not inside. We don't need to make them new every time we make a deck. We can just use the ones we already have. They'll never change. So now put them right there. Beautiful. Save that. You can Control S and save that.
It did something weird
Bam.
though.
Pull that over. Yeah, there you go. Beautiful. Control S. Save that file. Awesome. Look at that. Test passing using a class. Working.
Okay.
I don't know. That's again, I don't grade. I can't guarantee anything, but that seems like the thing. I don't know. Check the.
I think we're doing all the things.
I think we're doing all the things. Looks great. Woo!
Alrighty. Well, now I'm
Woo!
just gonna do my video.
You got this. Does it make sense?
It does.
Does
Like
it
all of
make sense the
this,
things that we did?
it does. Yes, all of this made sense. And then, now that I don't have those modules anymore, that's what was really breaking my brain for a couple of days.
Totally.
It was.
And
It
that
really,
makes sense
really
because
was.
we're not.
I just
we're
made
not,
it so much harder than it needed to be.
Yes, which is a very common thing to do. Usually the issues are either a typo or you overthought it. Those are the two most common bugs that students have.
Yeah, and the overthinking, I do that to myself so hard.
I mean, how could you know? So much is so complex that you're just like, it must all be so complex. But sometimes it's not. So.
My frame for reference is very small. So I'm like, I don't know anything. How would I know that I don't know this?
You wouldn't, and that's what I'm here for. So good job. You did all the right things. You did great work there. You asked for help. It's all the right stuff. Just keep doing it.
Okay. Thank you.
Very happy to help. Any other questions?
I'm good. I'm so happy right now.
Yeah. Amazing. Okay, well then, I think we'll head out. But good job, y'all. It's just a keep going thing. Just hold on to the struggle bus and just stay on there. Keep asking for help like crazy. Keep feeling stupid. And very slowly it will add up. And then you'll look back and be like, whoa, that added up a lot actually. It feels like nothing's happening, and then you're like, oh, whoa.
And it seems like I'm like doing okay, right? Because like I don't know what it was about this last week, but I was just like, oh my God, like I got myself in like a really bad like emotional space or something like that where it
so
just
common.
gets scary when because I don't mind like working really hard and like feeling dumb because I feel like I've had like a lot of practice of that in my life and stuff. But like,
Me too.
it's like the idea of like not being able to figure it out or to like not be good enough, like really in that
Yes.
result, like really messes me up where I'm just like, oh my God, like what if I have to figure out, what if I have to like go back to bartending or something like that and then like figure out a different way to like live the life that I want to live, and then that,
Yeah.
which I guess is like happens to people and stuff. And like somebody earlier today was like, well, if if you have to put stuff down, you can always like pick it back up and like learn more and like keep going that way and stuff, which is like nice and reassuring. But I'm also like, I don't want to do it that way. Like I want to do well in the boot camp.
No,
You
I
know
mean,
what I mean? Like, even though I can't
was-
like go crazy too, because I was kind of like, okay, you have to like leave your house, Heather. You know what I mean?
Yes,
Like,
you do. You gotta, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. So you do have to like make sure it's sustainable. Don't burn yourself out.
And I think that's what I did kind of, even though it sucks because Ruby's the one that asks all the good questions. I'm the one that asks like, like
I'm
you
just
have
very
to have
stupid.
like that. You have to have like background or something, or I'm just like, I don't know. My parents are way smarter than I am and stuff. I'm just like, what, do you just got like really good genes or something like that, Ruby? Like you act like even got the headset on, like you act like you know.
I just started a new job and I have to be like on call with people. So last week I worked 6 days a week and I was in class and I was doing this. And so I worked like 10-hour days. So I was like,
dang.
I was done.
How do you do that? That's crazy to me that you like have so much going on and that you like show up and you like present this like amazing question where I'm just like,
I was dying.
Pull that out of my head. Like, how do you come up with such good questions?
I teach a few hour class and I'm like, that's it. I can't. That's all I had today. I have nothing else. I cannot work 10 hours at a time. It's very impossible. But you all are amazing. Heather, you have really, I feel like you've been a big part of creating this like a great culture in this class, and I am here for it. I love it. I look forward to this class.
Thanks.
One of my
for
favorites
that.
I've
I
ever
appreciate
taught.
that
So
because I'm like, I want to get good enough that you guys would be like, be a mentor, but then I'm like, I have to understand what I'm doing, and that's never gonna happen. Like, I don't know what I'm doing, but all
I don't
do
have any
is, like
control over
show
that.
up and I like talk a bunch and I ask the dumbest questions that make it more like then I'm like, I don't know how to use VS Code, and people are like, okay, well at least she doesn't know what she's doing because we all like the rest of us don't know what she's doing, but she really
No, you're saying the things,
doing.
you say the things that other people are thinking and that like don't want to say, and you say it, and that's so helpful to everyone. Makes it
Well, and
much
it's
better for everyone.
embarrassing because I'm like, if I've worked on the code well enough to like not even have errors, which and I've been having people like, I don't know what I'm doing, like how like I want to get farther along and stuff, but it just feels like ridiculous where I'm like, why don't, and where do I find that information? Because like Googling that kind of stuff too is like that, it doesn't like that does not come up. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Like I'm like, you
Totally.
can't figure out ways to do that kind of stuff. And oh man. Anyways,
I do gotta head out. What time is it? 8:20. I got to go. But it was so much fun. I loved helping y'all. And just keep it up. You're doing the right stuff. It just feels this way right now.
thanks for saying that I'm helping build the culture of the thing and stuff. Because like
can you be in all my classes? Can you just come and be in all my classes?
I would because then I would actually get good at this, which is like my dream and stuff. I would definitely.
I have a new class starting tomorrow. They're going to be learning Git. That week where we threw you all into Git, like they're going to be terrified.
You want me to hop in?
Just hop in and just be like, y'all, you're going to get there.
Okay, send me the link.
Way worse.
Send me the link. I know you're joking, but I would do it.
If I could, I don't know if I'm allowed to. If I was allowed
you
to,
should like message them and be like, can we have a special guest and stuff? Help me out. I want to work for Prominio Tech. Like I promise I'll learn the thing.
I don't
They're
know
not.
if I'm allowed to share I don't know.
There's only a couple ways to find out, Natalie. You know, I can't get
also,
you know what I
you
mean?
all are in like the toughest week right now. I feel like if you tell them how tough this week is, they're all gonna get scared.
Oh,
you gotta
sorry.
Well,
you gotta lead them in quietly.
It is scary though too, because I was like really being like, I'm gonna do great, I'm gonna like power through this thing, and then all of a sudden I was like, oh my god, I like switched therapists and stuff too, because I was like, I don't like this one much, and then I like got a different one where I'm like, oh, like I don't like this one either, and I feel like I'm supposed to like talk to them first before I like decide that, but I kind of already decided it, and then I was like, this is so hard, and how am I ever gonna be like a real boy, you know what I mean? Like I'm still Pinocchio.
I'm not a real boy either. I'm just blobbing along over here. Someone gave me a clap.
You feel like you're grown.
Oh gosh, no. What? My life has just been a general flopping like a fish in various directions and just being like, I like it here. We'll chill here for a bit. Like, I don't know. It's been an adventure. Nobody has any idea what they're doing, is what I've decided.
Nobody knows what they're doing.
Everybody's just out here faking it and winging it and just pretending so hard. And
yeah.
The polite thing is not to call people on it.
There you go. See, here's what I found. If you just say it, like I'm just telling y'all, like, oh, I don't know, like, and then people are like, ha, but you do know. And then you're like, well, no, I told you I didn't. Like, I'm telling the truth here. It's like,
Cassidy, where are you from? Because you have like the best accent. I have a friend that has a
so
similar.
Funny. I'm from Nebraska. We're not supposed to have any accent at all.
That's
crazy. No fucking way. That's so dope.
Yeah.
But like I've lived in different places and I've picked up stuff from all over, and it's this weird blended thing that I got going on now.
I love it.
It
reminds me of a friend of mine that I met in California, and she's living in like in Seattle right now, but it's like I know she's from Germany, and I was just like, I know that you're not from, like you're probably not German unless you are, like whatever, you know what I mean? But
I lived in Spain, I lived in California, I lived in Texas.
Anyways, y'all, I do have to go.
I know.
I'm so sorry.
I
love y'all so much.
I really do. But this was really great. It was so helpful. And Heather, I shot you a message, and thank you. I'm gonna log off. All right, you guys have a good night.
Thank you. Until next week.